a fair amount of respect in the conversation, contrary to, as you just mentioned, Zelensky, those phone calls, and we lay one of them out in the book. Trump just doesn't like Zelensky and considers him weak, and he is the lesser of the two powers in this conflict, and he does not treat him with the same level of respect.
Having followed him from the New York days, as you have done, do you think you understand him? You write about his personal habits. It really took you by surprise to find out that he was sticking gilding onto White House mantelpieces and that his bedroom is untidy. I mean, is this stuff that he doesn't want us to know about? What did you discover about his personal foibles in the White House?
Caroline Leavitt told colleagues, the press secretary at the White House, that she had walked into the Oval Office and found the president with a tube of super glue, gluing an applique to the mantelpiece, the marble mantelpiece, fireplace in the Oval Office, which I think said a lot about how much control he likes over decoration. We got very deep inside how he lives in the residence and how he had lived last term. And, he is a late night snacker who there would often be bags of potato chips and ice cream cartons, the next morning. And for whatever reason, he likes a fully carpeted bathroom. And this presented problems because it would get very wet. And the resident staff was very concerned about mold and health hazards. So the solution was essentially a smaller piece of carpet, not a bath mat, but a smaller piece of carpet. And there were a few of them, and they would get rotated out. One would dry, and then it would be brought back in to try to reduce the potential for mold. Why, it's been very interesting to us how people have been very intrigued by all of this.
I mean, you can see why he's enraged with you. I know that you did have one final meeting with him, and he agrees with you that Trump 2 is more powerful than Trump 1, but he shouted at you, I believe, using the F word, you and your co-author, and probably because he doesn't like the sort of stuff and would dispute the sort of stuff you're saying. Are we ever going back? If this is an imperial presidency, the final question, Maggie, is this consequential president has forever changed the presidency, hasn't he? We can't go back to the system before.
I don't think we know yet. I think that there are very few presidents who could do what he has done, as he correctly says, and that is that shamelessness as superpower and the iron fist that he runs the Republican Party with and wields over lawmakers. It's just fundamentally different. There has been a mission creep of expanding executive power in the U.S. over many decades. He has obviously thrown accelerant on it, but it's hard to see a Democrat who can see how he has used power getting into office and saying, I'm going to give up a lot of that. Biden did do some of that, and he was perceived as quite weak.
Thank you for listening to The Interview. You'll find more in-depth conversations on The Interview wherever you get your BBC podcasts, including conversations with astronaut Victor Glover, crime writer Patricia Cornwall, and many others. Until the next time, bye for now.
From the BBC.
Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Corey Funk, in for Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, and everywhere on the CBC Manitoba YouTube page. Good to be with you on this somewhat chilly morning. Right now in Winnipeg at the Forks, it's 16 degrees. I'm trying to think the last time we were in the teens while the sun's been up. So enjoy this one day of slightly more cool weather. We are heading for a high today of 22 here in Winnipeg with a pretty clear day, at least here down south. But there is yellow level air quality warnings in effect for northern Manitoba right now, running all the way from the Paw and Flin Flon up to Thompson, to Lynn Lake, to Dewey Lake, Brochet, Norway House as well. So keep that in mind if you're planning to head outside up north. Well, let's say hello to the wonderful crew helping put together today's show. Abby Adiemi is our studio technician and keeping an eye on your weather as well. Darren Morash is our YouTube producer. Let's also say hello to Josh Crabb, who's keeping an eye on your news headlines. Good morning.
Good morning, Corey. We're checking for updates on the search for 10-year-old Maximo and 13-year-old Arino Ramirez, who are presumed dead after falling into the water at Nudimick Lake. The younger brother slipped on rocks near Sturgeon Falls Saturday afternoon, and his older brother tried to save him. Today is by-election day for one area of the province. Voters in the constituency of the Paw-Camisac have until 8 o'clock tonight to cast their ballots for a new MLA. And Thompson will soon open the doors on its new airport terminal. That project is now weeks away from accepting its first passengers to northern Manitoba. Your next local CBC News is at 6:30.
Thank you very much, Josh.
You're welcome.
That's Josh Kravitz, your CBC News desk. Well, coming up this next hour on Information Radio, if the new blockbuster adaptation of The Odyssey has you wanting to read the Greek epic, well, you may have to wait a bit for a copy at the library. Coming up, we're going to get one librarian's thoughts on the renewed interest in the story and which translation she recommends. Also, we're going to hear more about how the new threat of tariffs from the U.S. is impacting talks between premiers and the Prime Minister in PEI.
Jill Deacon sitting in for Tom Power. We're used to seeing Luke Wilson play the sympathetic, nice guy in Legally Blonde, in Old School, The Royal Tenenbaums. He'll tell you about the challenge and the fun of playing a smug jerk in his new show with Will Ferrell, The Hawk.
Even I've had to adapt, and I'm nowhere near as old as you are.
Q this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. Canada is once again on the defensive. U.S. President Donald Trump is threatening 50% tariffs on some Canadian exports, and he's given a 30-day deadline for when they're to take effect. Prime Minister Mark Carney says Ottawa is ready to engage with Washington to reach a resolution. The CBC's Julia Wong joins me now from Washington. And Julia, what exactly is Trump threatening?
He's threatening to slap a 50% tariff on certain Canadian goods, which is a massive jump from the 10% tariff in place right now for some products. The list is wide-ranging, from milk to wine to some hockey equipment. Notably, it doesn't include vehicle or auto parts, and certain products like energy, potash, and fish would be exempt. But here is the kicker. Goods that up until now had been allowed into the U.S. tariff-free because they comply with CUSMA, the Canada-U.S.-Mexico Free Trade Agreement, they will now be subject to this 50% tariff. U.S. President Donald Trump signed 3 proclamations yesterday to impose these tariffs, which can be applied to countries deemed to discriminate against industries in the United States. And the maximum tariff the administration could inflict was 50%. So the U.S. clearly looking to apply the greatest amount of pressure on Canada.
Has there been any reaction from other officials in Washington?
You know, right now reaction has been quite limited, but when these details rolled out, senior administration officials said that the new tariffs were being applied because of what they describe as Canada's retaliation against U.S. trade policy. Now, Canada being one of the few countries that hit back against U.S. tariffs with its own counter tariffs. Officials also say the new tariffs are because of what they call discrimination against U.S. vehicles, dairy, and alcohol, sectors that have long been identified as being trade irritants for the U.S. Now, the timing here is important. The U.S. is holding trade talks with Mexico starting today to review CUSMA, but similar talks between Canada and the U.S. have stalled. So with these new rates set to take effect in about 30 days, this could be a negotiating tactic from the United States.
All right. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you.
The CBC's Julia Wong in Washington. Trump's latest tariff gambit comes as Canada's premiers gather on Prince Edward Island. They're in Charlottetown for their annual summer meeting. And as Janice McGregor reports, provinces that pulled U.S. booze off the shelves in retaliation for Trump's first tariffs seem to be digging in, not giving in.
At this point, I just feel sorry for Americans.
If Donald Trump thought his latest threat would change BC Premier David Eby's mind, sorry to disappoint.
Will you put American booze back on the shelf?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
You know, I have to talk to forestry families that face a tariff of above 50% because our softwood is a national security risk to the United States, while Russian softwood is taking its place in the United States.
Premiers yet to arrive in Charlottetown voiced similar resolve on social media. Quebec's Christian Frechette calling it unjustified, concerning, weakening the dairy industry, non-negotiable, no compromise, she said. Ontario's Doug Ford said he'll never stop fighting, calling for Canada to respond dollar for dollar.
Premiers are political animals, and they take their cues from public opinion.
Professor Jared Wesley from the University of Alberta.
So far, public opinion remains, supportive of an elbows-up approach.
You know what? I don't even drink, but I'll drink for my country.
You'll drink for your country.
U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra was in Alberta earlier, pouring out shots, toasting warmer relations in a province that broke ranks with the U.S. ban in other provincial liquor retailers. Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith wasn't at the dinner with Eby and other premiers on Monday night. In that room, the solidarity was strong.
I didn't hear anyone in there talking about putting American booze on the shelf, I'll tell you that.
Janice McGregor, CBC News, Charlottetown.
The crisis in the Middle East is hanging over the ASEAN meeting in the Philippines. Foreign ministers from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations are gathering in Manila. They are addressing the war in Iran and concerns over the Strait of Hormuz. Maria Teresa Lazaro is the Philippines foreign minister.
We live in a time defined by what I call the 3 U's: upheaval, uncertainty, and unpredictability. As developments around the world continue to strain global peace, security, and stability, it is highly fitting to recall our theme for this year, navigating our future together.
Lazaro said cooperation is no longer a choice, but a strategic necessity. There are 11 nations at the summit. Ministers say the latest escalation in the Middle East diminished the prospect of a peaceful resolution. Top diplomats from several other nations are also joining talks in Manila this week. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is expected to attend. Overnight, the U.S. military launched a 10th evening of airstrikes against Iranian targets. U.S. military footage shows jets taking off to conduct precision strikes they claim to have hit Iranian air defense networks, missile sites, and command centers. In response, Iran's Revolutionary Guard fired at U.S. military bases in Kuwait and Bahrain. Tehran is also taking responsibility for targeting commercial tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. It forced at least one crew to abandon ship. 3 U.S. service members were killed over the weekend. U.S. President Donald Trump promised retaliation for the casualties. Diplomatic envoys from Pakistan are attempting to mediate a truce. Pakistan and Qatar helped the U.S. and Iran with the recent memorandum of understanding that was supposed to end the war. Canada will become an official observer of the Global Combat Air Program. The announcement is expected later this morning in London. Prime Minister Mark Carney continues his push to diversify military partnerships so the country is less reliant on the U.S. Ashley Burke has the story from London.
At a major international air show in the UK, the next generation of fighter jet is on display. The UK, Japan, and Italy are working together to build it by 2035. But sources tell CBC News Canada will become the first observer of the program. Defense Minister David McGuinty wouldn't confirm the news on Monday, but said this.
We've been asked to consider to become an observer state, the only such state so far to have been asked to consider this. That's a big breakthrough.
The move opens the door for the government to take part in talks about what role Canadian industry can play.
It's cutting edge. It's a smart play for Canada and for Canadians. It's a smart play for this sector.
It's part of the Carney government's push to diversify partnerships to become far less reliant on the U.S.
We have a long-time dependency when it comes to trade to the U.S.
Industry Minister Melanie Joly was one of 4 members of the Prime Minister's cabinet at the Farnborough Air Show trying to make deals.
We're working on diversification. We are 4 ministers here working with companies all across the world to make sure that we expand our aerospace sector, but also that we diversify our markets.
McGuinty is expected to make the announcement about one of those deals, the Global Combat Air Program, later this morning. Ashley Burke, CBC News, London.
An old amusement park in southern Ontario has begun a delicate operation. Marineland is flying 30 beluga whales to their new homes. The park shut down to the public in 2024. And as Thomas Stegler reports, the long-awaited plan to move the whales has started.
As night fell on Niagara Falls, a convoy of transport trucks left Marineland loaded with heavy and unusual cargo. Half a dozen belugas, the first to be sent to the airport, then on to aquariums in Chicago and San Antonio, Texas. Marine mammal expert Andrew Treitz describes the move as a complicated process.
It involves people at each step that can accompany the animal and assess it to ensure that it is going to be transported stress-free and problem-free.
The emergency rescue operation caps off a long-running saga for the whales and animal rights advocates like Aaron Ryan.
We really want to see this as the last generation of whales to suffer in captivity.
After the park closed, the belugas faced the threat of euthanasia. Recently, Marineland agreed to have them separated and sent to the U.S. and Spain. Christy Burgess is a former trainer at Marineland. For her, the move is bittersweet.
I'm a little sad to see some of the families being split up. It's still light years better than staying at a decaying park.
Plans for Marineland's other animals remain unclear. The park is still home to dolphins and deer. Once on display for the public, their future is now in question. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Hamilton, Ontario.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. For News Anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, and everywhere on the CBC Manitoba YouTube page. I'm Corey Funk, in for Marcy Marcusa. Chilly one today so far. A bit of a reprieve from all this heat we've been having. It's 16 right now at the Forks, heading for a high today of 22. Enjoy it, because it only gets hotter from there. So just one little break before the heat comes back. Coming up this hour on Information Radio, Canada's premiers meet this week in Prince Edward Island against the backdrop of a new wave of American tariff threats. We're going to talk to Ryan Tumulty, a political reporter with the Toronto Star, about the move. Also, as fighting between the U.S. and Iran continues to escalate, traffic through the Strait of Hormuz is slowing to a trickle. Coming up this half hour, an energy expert is going to talk us through what that means for Canadians and the price we could be paying at the pumps. But up first, here on Information Radio, if the new blockbuster adaptation of the Odyssey has you wanting to read the Greek epic, you may have to wait a bit for a copy at the library. It is a lineup, so a librarian tells us. She's going to join us in the studio to talk about that lineup and actually the book itself, which she has read in the past to her kids on road trips. That's coming up here on Information Radio. Right now, though, let's check in with Josh Crabb with a look at your news headlines. Good morning.
Good morning, Corey. The head of the Whiteshell Cottagers Association says he's overcome with sadness as crews continue to look for two missing boys on Nudimick Lake. The RCMP was called Saturday about the two boys who fell into fast-flowing water at Sturgeon Falls. A Manitoba man who was bitten by a dog says local officials dragged their feet to apprehend the animal. Tim Woodcock was cycling in the Arm of St. Andrews on July 7th when he says a woman with a dog appeared up the bike path. And voters in the constituency of the Paw-Kamisak have until 8 o'clock tonight to cast their ballots for a new MLA. Today is by-election day for that area of the province. We'll have more in your next local CBC News at 6:30.
Thank you very much, Josh.
You're welcome.
That's Josh Crabb at your CBC News desk. Abby Adiemi is in with a look at your fairly moderate forecast, at least down south today.
Yeah, I'll tell you, down south, we're in for a beautiful day across the southern regions with highs just, in the mid-20s for today. But up north, we're talking about that wildfire smoke still impacting the air quality in the central and towards the far north. The only region I see that is spared from this warning, though we still have smoke present there, would be the Gillam area and, of course, the Churchill area. But down south, it's more about clear conditions and it's bright. We're already seeing sunshine in most of the regions. For the Red River Valley region at this time in the city, we're looking at temperatures between 13 and 16 degrees, depending on where you are. It's clear outside. The sun already made its appearance. We're aiming for a high of 21 today. 22 today. And if you look across at the southern regions from Morris towards Winkler, Brandon towards Dauphin and Gimli, we're seeing sunshine there already. We're seeing temperatures hover between 16 and 12 degrees in the Dauphin area. And of course, Gimli is currently sunny at 14. But up north, it's more about active smoke warnings and temperatures around 14 in the part. Tudula Lake is at 9 degrees and smoky. And Churchill, we're looking at partly cloudy skies at 9 degrees, warming to 20 today. But for Winnipeg, let's just put it at 15 for now, and it's sunny outside.
Thank you very much, Abby.
Thank you.
As for your commute, one issue to keep an eye out for: Chevrier Boulevard / Crescent Drive, right there, and at the intersection of Pembina Highway. The lights are flashing red in all directions, so you want to treat that as a four-way stop. And if you have any other updates for us, you can call our commuter line. Abby's going to be picking it up today. That number, 204-788-3093. Well, next up here on Information Radio, the release of Christopher Nolan's blockbuster adaptation of The Odyssey has many readers picking up copies of the millennia-old poem for the first time. There are currently 25 holds at the Winnipeg Public Library for the poem's 2017 translation by Emily Wilson. Now, Carolyn Miner is a collections librarian with the Winnipeg Public Library, and she joins me this morning in studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Corey.
So just give us an idea of just what kind of interest in The Odyssey you've been seeing at the library lately.
So this is a happy story where we were able to anticipate with, all the hoopla about the movie that this would be popular. And actually people have been requesting it for, up to 6 to 9 months now. So we've reordered copies of popular translations, including Emily Wilson's. There's Robert Fagel's as well. Those are, standard translations that everybody, literary people love. But there's also, adaptations for children. There's illustrated versions. There's graphic novels. We have ebooks. We have e-audio books. And they're all showing an increase in demand.
Are you surprised by the demand for a book, especially something like The Odyssey, which isn't necessarily, an easy read per se?
It's not an easy read, but the stories in it, the adaptations of it are so, they're very accessible now. The stories, thousands of years old, very popular, very foundational to our understanding of the world and the way we read literature and stories in general. So people are familiar with them, whether they know it or not.
Mm-hmm. And tell me a little bit about those adaptations or those translations. Like I kind of mentioned earlier, we were talking before we went on air that you've read some kid-friendly versions on road trips to your kids. Lucky them.
Lucky them.
Tell me a little bit about those translations.
Sure. So, if you want to read the original text not in Greek, the most accessible one is probably the Emily Wilson one. That was in 2018, fairly recent. Got a lot of critical acclaim. And is fairly easy to read. I've tried it. I didn't finish it, but
wow, huge edition.
Yes. So there is for children. It's been around for a while. An adaptation, an illustrated adaptation. I think it's called. Yeah, it's a graphic novel by Gareth Hines. It's quite good. I didn't hate it. That was not the one I read to my children. I can't find it. The one I read 10 years ago.
I like the review. Didn't hate it.
Didn't hate it. Yeah.
There you
go. I'm just trying to think what else. Oh, Stephen Fry. That one, I think he has a whole series now that he's done recently.
Is that the British guy?
I feel like the British actor.
Okay. Yeah.
He's done a retelling of. The first one was called Mythos. It was just like Greek myths. Then he's got Heroes. Then he's got Troy. So the Battle of Troy. And then he now has, just in time, 2025, The Odyssey.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, and he narrates his own audiobooks.
I like his
Very
voice.
popular, yes.
That's great. And why do you think this story in particular has endured, thousands of years after, especially because you have read it? What is the appeal?
So there are some some very foundational aspects of the story to popular culture and literary culture. I think the most important one is the Greek concept of nostos, which is like nostalgia. So Odysseus's journey home, his longing to go home is, everybody lives with that in their daily lives. And that's, the story of Odysseus is, I think, the first time it was all put together in a way that we could express it and relate to it.
And have you seen the movie yet at all?
Nope.
Okay, what will you be looking for?
Yeah.
Are you going to be like, oh, it wasn't as good as the book? Are you going to be that kind of person, you think?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm just going to enjoy it. So there's a few things. I always look for how the female characters are portrayed. So far, the reviews are pretty positive on that front. So I am looking forward to that.
Oh, that's good.
Also, another Greek, sort of foundational Greek concept that I think Christopher Nolan really emphasized is xenia, which is like hospitality to strangers. And I think he really built that into his narrative. It's where we get the concept of xenophobia from. It's like the opposite of xenia.
Interesting. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I'll be interested to see that.
Huh.
I am also curious of the portrayal of Odysseus. There's like the classic opening line of the Odyssey is, "Let me tell you about a," and then however the translator translates it it depends on, how they read the Greek and what they want to emphasize in his character. So I'm very curious about how.
So the opening line is really going to set the tone
Yes.
for who Odysseus will be,
Yes.
actually.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
interesting. So this film is leading to an increased interest in Greek classics for some, and for people seeking out more. What else do you think they should read? Any recommendations?
Yes, I have a few. So there's a Canadian podcaster named Liv Albert. I know she had her CBC interview recently, which I tried to find and I couldn't find. She's got her podcast is called Let's Talk About Myths, Baby. And she has an older book called Greek Mythology, sort of a who's who, like a handbook. And just coming out for children, still, we have it in our catalog, but not on the shelves yet. It's called Odyssey, a Modern Retelling, and it's illustrated. It's for children. This is what I will read to my children on the. No, just kidding.
Well, I maybe I'll read it.
You should read it to your children. Yes, the illustrations are amazing.
Well, that sounds great.
And then so there's some other adaptations like by Madeline Miller, Circe and Song of Achilles. I read both of them. They're really good. And the Penelope ad by Margaret Atwood, which is a retelling from the female character's perspective.
Oh, everyone loves Margaret Atwood. That's
yes.
an easy sell.
Yeah.
Well, Carolyn, thanks for your time this morning. I hope you enjoy the movie when you see it.
Thank you so much.
That's Carolyn Miner. She's a collections librarian with the Winnipeg Public Library. So here's actually a song we have lined up about a character in the Odyssey that doesn't appear in the movie. Sisyphus was caught trying to cheat death, so his punishment, pushing a giant boulder up a hill, only to watch it fall back down and doing it over and over for eternity. Here's Andrew Bird with Sisyphus on CBC Radio 1.
Did he jump or did he fall as he gazed into the morning mist? Did he raise both fists and say to hell with this and just let the rock roll? Let it roll, let it crash down low. There's a house down there, but I lost it long ago. Let it roll, let it crash down low. See my house down there, but I lost it long ago. Well, I let the rock roll on down to the town below. We had a house down there, but I lost it long ago. Lost it long ago.
It's a bit of Andrew Bird there with Sisyphus. Time now is 6:23. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1. I'm Corey Funk in for Marcy Marcusa. Well, more than a week after the U.S. and Iran started trading airstrikes, the Strait of Hormuz is once again a flashpoint. And that's having an impact on global oil markets. Warren Mabey has more on what could mean here in Canada. He's a director of the Institute for Energy and Environmental Policy at Queen's University. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, as fighting between the U.S. and Iran continues to escalate, what's happening to the flow of oil through the Strait of Hormuz?
So really the flow of oil has been reduced to a trickle. At one point during the ceasefire, we were starting to see not normal ship traffic, but significant ship traffic through the strait, maybe 30 or 35 ships a day. We're down to just a few ships every day, very few large oil tankers making it through the strait. And that means that 20 million barrels of oil that would normally flow through the strait, it's just not getting out into the markets. That pushes the price of oil up right around the world. We've seen it over and over again during this conflict, and it's certainly happening again right now.
If there is a pause in fighting between the U.S. and Iran, how quickly could the flow of oil resume?
Pretty fast. It seems to take about a week for significant numbers of ships to start moving through. I think that all of the big carriers, the big shipping companies, they need assurance. They need to see that it is a real ceasefire because we've had so many on and off again moments during this conflict. They need some assurance that the ships aren't going to be attacked as they move through. But given a few days of stability, you would start to see that backlog clear. We do have about 150 ships waiting on either side of the strait. There's a lot of ships that do need to traverse the strait. It could take a few weeks to get back to something more like normal shipping, but it would come back relatively fast given a ceasefire.
Yesterday as well, Houthis in Yemen announced a naval blockade of Saudi Arabia, blocking oil exports to Asia via the Red Sea. So what impact could this have on oil supplies?
Yeah, that shipping route has given Saudi Arabia a way to get some oil, not all, but maybe about a third of their normal exports out through the Red Sea. If the blockade is successful, and we don't know that it will be fully successful, it would stop that flow of oil south. It really leaves Saudi Arabia with just one outlet, which is through the Suez Canal into the Mediterranean and out to markets that way. It would push prices up even further, I think, worldwide. And it will really damage Saudi Arabia's economy because, it's cutting off sort of their last exit for oil. And that is the primary way that they generate income. So it would have a big impact across the region.
Is there a ceiling to the oil prices, or if fighting does continue, will it just keep rising and rising?
Well, in the last rounds of conflict, we've seen oil sort of peak out about $110 a barrel. Partly that's because we have ceasefires announced, or we have, breaks in hostility, and that has sort of kept a damper on things. I do think that there are major producers now, like the US, like Canada, that weren't there in the 1970s in terms of volume, that have made up for some of what is missing in the global markets. I think that there are countries like China that have gone far down the road of electrification. They're not demanding quite as much oil as they might have. And these things are helping keep the price of oil sort of within that $110 range at the peak. It's hard to say, though, over time. Over time, if the conflict continues, the prices could continue to edge up.
When the war did begin, some people were predicting that oil prices could double or quadruple even. So why hasn't that happened?
I think it has to do with what I've been saying. I think that the fact that there are big producers out there, the fact that there is electrification happening, that has really allowed us to keep those prices under control. There are alternatives for consumers, and because there are alternatives and those alternatives are starting to become really mainstream in some places, the demand for oil is not quite as all-encompassing as it once was. And hopefully it helps to keep the prices under control in the next little while.
And for the short term, at least, what could that mean for Canadians at the pump this summer going forward?
Unfortunately, if the conflict continues, the prices are likely to remain elevated at the pump. We're starting to hear about $2 a liter for gasoline in some markets. It would not be, unrealistic to see those numbers right across the country as supplies get tight and as the conflict continues. So I think the best we can hope for is a break in the hostility, and that might give us a little bit of an easing in the prices a little later on.
I think a lot of people around the world, there's been a bit of a wake-up call for how dependent some countries are, more than others, on oil as the price goes up and down. But Canada itself, how can it protect itself from all this volatility?
I think that for us, energy diversification is the big thing. The Prime Minister has talked about an electrification strategy that would connect our grids right across the country and strengthen the grids that we have. I think that that's a step in the right direction. I do think that a lot of consumers are looking at alternatives like electric vehicles. The other thing to remember is that Canada makes a lot of money during high energy price moments because we're a big producer of oil. I think that we need a strategy to take advantage of that, but at the same time to protect Canadians. And that's why an energy diversification strategy, I think, is the best.
Well, Warren, thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Warren Mabey is the director of the Institute for Energy and Environmental Policy at Queen's University. Well, coming up just ahead here, we have your business report. We're going to be talking about that new round of tariff threats coming from the U.S. That's coming up after your CBC News from Manitoba.
This is CBC News. Good morning, I'm Josh Crabb. At 6:30, it's sunny and 16 downtown, sunny and 12 in Dauphin, partly cloudy, and 14 in Flin Flon. The president of the Whiteshell Cottagers Association says he hopes the community prays for and supports the family of two boys presumed dead in Nudimick Lake. The RCMP is searching for 10-year-old Maximo and 13-year-old Arano Ramirez. The younger brother slipped on rocks near Sturgeon Falls Saturday afternoon, and his older brother tried to save him. Police say both boys were swept away in the fast-flowing water and didn't resurface. The association's Don Binda says he realized something was wrong after emergency vehicles rushed past his nearby cottage. He says he's in disbelief and overwhelmed by sadness.
I think we hopefully band together, hopefully take water safety a little bit more to heart. I think we all have a tendency from time to time to be a little bit too trusting, especially with kids and grandkids.
Police, volunteer divers, and people using their own boats have been searching since Saturday for the boys. An 18-year-old Winnipegger is dead after drowning southeast of Winnipeg. The RCMP says the young man was swimming with friends in a gravel pit Sunday night south of Grunthal. Officers say while trying to swim across it, he went under and didn't resurface. Andrew Fair owns Green Valley RV Park and says the beach adjacent to his business has warning signs and youth aren't supposed to swim unsupervised.
It does make you a little bit nervous having that happen right across the road from my campground. I have a lake right across the road, which is the same thing, an expired gravel pit that we renovated. So it just makes us want to be more careful with signage and stuff like that. And it's really sad and it's shocking.
An RCMP dive team found the 18-year-old's body on Monday. BC Premier David Eby is reacting to the latest U.S. tariff proposal. Eby is in Charlottetown, where Canada's premiers will begin meeting today.
At this point, I just feel sorry for Americans. If you're picking fights with Canadians, then you don't have a friend in the world. I've asked my staff to contact the ambassador to have our government statement in support of the historic friendship between Canada and the United States that's on the 250th birthday website of the United States and other materials to be removed.
The federal Conservatives say President Trump is wrong to target Canadian workers and must reverse these tariffs immediately, but they also blame Prime Minister Mark Carney for failing to get the deal he promised with the U.S. A Manitoba man who was bitten by a dog says local officials dragged their feet to apprehend the animal. Tim Woodcock was cycling in the arm of St. Andrews on July 7th when he says a woman with a dog appeared up the bike path. Woodcock says the dog was a pit bull, but a veterinarian says it's a mix of bully breeds. The 62-year-old says the aggressive canine began to lunge at him.
And I just started spinning because the dog was trying to bite me, and it actually got between me and the bike and took a bunch of bites out of my thigh and my hamstring area.
Woodcock says he was left with puncture wounds too deep to stitch, and it took a week to learn the animal was put under a 10-day quarantine required to assess rabies risks. The RM says the dog was initially confined to its owner's home before it was quarantined, but has not specified when either began. Today is by-election day for one area of the province. Voters in the constituency of the Pas-Kamisak have until 8 o'clock tonight to cast their ballots for a new MLA. CBC's Eric Westhaver has more.
The Pas-Kamisak is one of 4 northern seats in Manitoba's legislature, covering an area from the Pas down to Peguis. The winner will fill the former seat of late MLA Amanda Laughlin. The NDP has held this riding for decades. They've chosen former Opaskwayak Cree Nation Vice Chief Jennifer Flett as a candidate. The PCs are running entrepreneur and artisan Edna Nabis, who feels the NDP has held the region back. Liberal candidate Dan Quinnell, a bank manager by day, wants to see more opportunity in the area. And Wally Doddridge, formerly a candidate for the PC party's leadership, is now running for the Keystone Party. Voting info can be found on the Elections Manitoba website. Eric Westhaver, CBC News, Flin Flon.
And a new terminal will soon open at Thompson's Airport. It's the province's second busiest, but its existing terminal is too small, too old, and starting to sink. The new one is built on firmer ground and has more amenities. It also has tighter security to keep drugs and alcohol out of northern communities. James Lindsay with the Thompson Airport Authority says the project has been decades in the making.
It's taken over 20 years for us to get here in terms of the organization from where we started to where we are today, and we're really proud and excited to bring this piece of infrastructure to the north.
The new terminal is expected to open to the public in late August. And that is the CBC News from Winnipeg. Your next local CBC News is at 7:30.
Thank you very much, Josh.
You're welcome.
That is Josh Crabb at your CBC News desk. Well, Abby, looks like we're in for a fairly chilly, somewhat refreshing start to the day today.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we have a refreshing one for the southern part of the province. Most of the regions down south enjoying clear skies and sunshine at this time, but it's a different story up north. An air quality warning is in effect across most of northern Manitoba. This morning we were seeing smoke from the northern Saskatchewan and reducing visibility and causing poor air quality, affecting a whole large chunk of communities up north. We're talking about from the Pas, Flin Flon, all the way towards Tuduli Lake this morning. But across the board, we're seeing temperatures between 12 and 16 at this time. Winnipeg, we're looking at 16 degrees in the city, expecting a mix of sun and clouds later. Lots of sunshine at this time. Winds will come sometime, and then that's what go. We'll see a high around 22, and then just a few clouds tonight. More sunshine on its way tomorrow. Then we start climbing into those 28 and into the 30s. Across the Pembina Valley region, more than towards Portage La Prairie, we're looking at 16 degrees there also. Sunshine in that region, aiming for a high of 22. Brandon towards Nipawin is clear. We're seeing 12 degrees there, warming to 22 as well. Dauphin towards the Roblin area, 12 degrees and sunny with local smoke present. We're seeing a high of 24 in that part of the province later. While for the Gimli area, we're looking at 14 degrees and sunshine, aiming for a high of 22. Then we cross into that central part of the province where we're seeing temperatures around the Pas, Flin Flon hover between 12 and 14 degrees with smoky skies and of course the air quality warning in place. We'll see highs around 26 there. Norway House is also enjoying some sunshine at 10 degrees. Air quality warning also present there. We'll see high around 23. There's a slim chance of afternoon showers and maybe some thunderstorms. Thompson is at 8 degrees, mostly cloudy, smoke in the air also, warming to 22. Slim chance of showers in the forecast. Lynn Lake is at 8 degrees with some foggy conditions mixed with smoke and air quality warning present. High of 24. Then we move towards the Gillam area. 13 degrees at this time, mostly cloudy, warming to 23. No warning in that part of the province for now, but the smoke, you might still get to smell it somewhere, wherever you are. For Tudula Lake, we're looking at smoke in the air, 9 degrees, air quality warning in place. We see a high of 24. And then for the Churchill area, partly cloudy, 10 degrees at this time, climbing to 20. So the southern regions stays sunny and pleasant, while the north will be dealing with that wildfire smoke. Winnipeg, we're expecting sunny skies to start 16 degrees right now, aiming for a clear high of 22 later.
Lovely, 22. That's my favorite weather.
You could go for a walk.
Exactly.
And not worry about the smoke.
Exactly. You can wear pants, you can wear whatever you want. It's easy.
But look out for mosquitoes, bugs, and wood ticks.
Oh, don't kill the buzz, Abby.
Just saying.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's Abby Adiemi. Let's take a quick look at your commute here. The only issue that we know about right now is that Chevrier Crescent Drive and the intersection there with Pembina Highway. The lights are flashing red in all directions, so treat that as a four-way stop. We'd love to get some updates from you. You can give us a call on the CBC commuter line, that number 204-788-3093. Well, let's get to your business news with Phil DeMont. Good morning.
Morning, Corey.
So let's start with the big news here. So on Monday, Donald Trump slapped a new set of tariffs on our goods going into the U.S. So what about the economic ramifications of that move?
Yeah, right now analysts are saying that Canada's economy might not be too damaged by these new tariffs, but there are hints that things could go sideways fairly quickly. Washington slapped new levies on a wide range of Canadian exports heading south: cars, trucks, some wine, even toilet paper. Apparently, we export more than $300 million worth of TP to the U.S. annually. The move, according to the White House, is because Canada has unfairly targeted American exports coming up here, mainly in liquor. But the administration also has been long upset about our supply management system in the dairy sector. CIBC, though, says, look, the new tariffs affect about $20 billion worth of Canadian exports, 5.5% of our trade. So it's not stunning, but it's not, something to be sniffed at. Only 0.5% of America's overall imports. So it's going to be local sector-based, goes the argument. The provision used by the White House to impose the new tariffs, Section 338, actually hasn't been used since 1949, and it's never been used in this way. So much like Donald Trump's earlier tariffs, this move, experts think, will face a number of legal challenges. The risk for the U.S., I think, is actually cement. We export about $750 million worth of that material annually. That's 4% of all the cement used in the U.S. in a year, 35% in some states, and that's the key. Since Americans pay U.S. tariffs, the cost of putting up a new home or building could jump in some places, and it's they're coming up to those midterms, and that's a problem for them. For Canada, the risk is diplomatic. We're one of the few countries to retaliate when the U.S. imposed those wide-ranging tariffs last year. So Ottawa would probably lose most of its elbows-up credibility if it conceded on supply management, because of these tariffs. So we might be locked into some sort of retaliatory measure rather than negotiations, just because of the politics we can't really back down.
Okay, we'll have to see how that unfolds today. Now, the Soccer World Cup is over. The FIFA World Cup is over. We are getting some sense of the financial results now. So how did Canada do from a dollar point of view?
Pretty modest, according to preliminary data, but the games were always expected to be a bit of a ho-hum economic factor. Before the tournament began, Bank of Montreal predicted the economy would gain only 0.1% of GDP from hosting these FIFA games. And that looks to be accurate. Not a surprise, though, Corey. It was a couple of weeks tournament. It was Vancouver and Toronto, so you get some bump, but it's going to be pretty localized. Bars and breweries in Canada experienced about a 15% jump in the number of transactions in the 2 weeks of the tournament. That's just the preliminary data. Experts say, though, a chunk of those sales would have been taken away from other businesses. So maybe I'd go to a play. Instead, I'll go to the bar and watch the game. That kind of idea. And most of these gains, the money gains, were from higher prices for rooms, which are up something like 50%. The price, and restaurants, which charge more rather than having more customers. There were predictions about 300,000 foreign visitors would take in the matches, but preliminary data again, Toronto and Vancouver experienced only about a 5% rise in the number of foreigners landing at their airports, so 300,000 seems to be an overestimate. By contrast, the World Football Federation, who put on the tournament, they raked in $9 billion in revenue from the games, and that was a record. The gain, though, mostly from expanding the number of teams competing to 48 from 32. That resulted in matches before 64 games, now it was 104. So basically, if you put on more games, you're going to get more revenue. It just works like that.
Now, switching gears here, here's something that you might not think can hurt your business: the type of font you use on your logo and ads. So, how do these go wrong?
Yeah, you can get a lot more of those things in an online world, but you can either misread your customers who like the old logo or font, which they get upset about, or just not eyeballing the finished product. An example of misjudging your customers' 2024 rebranding of Jaguar, the car company. Gone was the iconic cat jumping out of the name. In its place, some mishmash of odd-shaped letters that annoyed customers. Kind of look like they screwed on a bunch of metal on a piece of cardboard, that kind of idea. The more fun failures when people just didn't proofread. 2016 Chanel ran an ad campaign, I Love Cocoa. The typeface made it read, I Love Cow. Kickstarter redid its logo with a fat lettering in a kind of pink hue. I thought my eyesight was getting worse because I couldn't make out individual letters. They're almost kind of vibrating in that weird pink way. But the winner, though, from my mind, Belle Chic, which popped out a tote bag in 2017 with the slogan, My favorite color is glitter, and that was on the bag. Instead, the font made it read, My favorite color is Hitler.
Oh,
yeah, details matter. Yeah, I know.
Oh, well, thank you very much there, Phil.
Thanks, Corey.
That is Phil DeMont with your business news. Well, let's take a little trip through time, shall we, with longtime iconic Canadian singer-songwriter Sarah McLachlan, who helped define the emotional sound of the 90s alternative pop with her powerful voice and piano-driven songs. Sweet Surrender captured that reflective mood of the era and became a favorite among listeners who connected with her honest songwriting. Here she is now with Sweet Surrender.
Doesn't mean much. It doesn't mean anything at all. The life I've left behind me is a cold room across the last light. From where I can return, where every step I took in faith betrayed me. And let you find my home. Sweet surrender is all that I had to give. Take me in, no questions asked. You strip away the ugliness that surrounds me. Are you an angel? Am I already that gone? I only hope that I won't disappoint you when I'm down here on my knees. Sweet surrender is all that I have to give. Sweet surrender is all that I have to give. And I don't understand the touch of your hand. I would be the one to fall. I miss a little thing. I miss everything about you. Doesn't mean much. doesn't mean anything at all. The life I've left behind me is a cold room. Sweet surrender is all that I have to give. Sweet surrender is all that I have to give.
That's Sarah McLachlan with Sweet Surrender.
I'm Christopher Garreau, your local reporter for CBC Manitoba in Steinbach. You're listening to CBC Radio 1.
Well, 6:48 right now. Next up here on the show, U.S. President Donald Trump has signed 3 proclamations that will impose tariffs of 50% on a wide range of Canadian exports. A senior U.S. administration official says it's in reaction to Canada's retaliation against U.S. trade policy and its discrimination against U.S. motor vehicles, dairy, and alcohol. Now, that word discrimination does a lot of work. The tariffs are imposed under Section 338 of the U.S. Tariff Act, 50% on imports from countries that are deemed to discriminate against U.S. industry. Now, the CBC spoke to Flavio Volpe, president of the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association.
The president and the prime minister were together yesterday, by all accounts. That was a respectful conversation, and we know they talk to each other on a frequent basis. I think we are watching the art of the deal. We're watching Donald Trump do things the way that Donald Trump does things, and they're testing Section 338 to be able to use it in other places. But really importantly here, on pieces of industrial Canada that have been carrying the burden of the trade war, have been paying the price for this trade war for a year: automobile assembly, steel, aluminum, lumber. It doesn't appear that there is an acceleration and a lighting of fires in those spaces. This is them saying, we don't like the booze that are not on the shelves. And by the way, we don't like it when we have to repeat 2, 3, 4 times that only you and China responded. We just have to decide how we want to be as a country and how we want to be as negotiators here. I, for one, our industry was very happy that the Canadian government responded and put into place these counter tariffs, and then put into place these remissions programs for the companies that are invested here, because keeping people buying parts and keeping people employed. And I expect we're going to see a lot more of this as we get closer to trade peace. Here we are, 5 o'clock on a Monday in July, doing what we do with the Trump administration.
That's Flavio Volpe, president of the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association, reacting to the news that the U.S. will impose a 50% tariff on a range of Canadian exports. As mentioned, that Section 338 he talks about, it gives the president the power to impose a maximum tariff of 50% on imports from countries that are deemed to discriminate against U.S. industry. And the tariffs are set to take effect just under a month from now, and there's no doubt the move will provide plenty to discuss as Canada's 13 premiers gather for their annual summer meeting in Prince Edward Island. For a closer look, we've reached Ryan Tumulty. He's a political reporter with the Toronto Star. We've reached him in Ottawa this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
So we just got a little bit of a overview of these tariffs, but just tell us a little bit more about what we know about the details about these tariffs so far.
Yeah, so as you said off the top, they're 50% tariffs. They're on a wide range of goods. The president is trying to make an example, I think, of Canada over the booze bans in provinces and the retaliatory auto tariffs, as well as our dairy system. So, those industries in Canada are targeted. So, Canadian wines and spirits and Canadian vehicles, things like that. But it also goes broader than that. Lots of clothing is there. Lots of wood furniture is there. Popsicle sticks, strangely. Wigs. All sorts of things are part of this tariff attack. And really crucially, this is what makes this different than what we've seen before. There is no exemption on these tariffs to goods that are CUSMA compliant. So things that were part of our trade deal are still getting hit by these tariffs.
And why do you think this is happening right now?
So I think there's a couple of things at play here. One, the U.S. just earlier this year, the Trump administration lost in front of their Supreme Court a decision on other tariffs that they had imposed, tariffs that were bringing in money to the U.S. government. Those have all expired, and that source of revenue that the U.S. government had has essentially disappeared. So I think in part they're looking for a replacement to that source of revenue. I think that is a big part of it. I think the other part of it here, though, is, and this may be the more significant one, is that the CUSMA renegotiation is still underway. Canada, the U.S. and Mexico are talking quite a bit. They've had lots of talks. Canada hasn't really necessarily come to the table with the U.S. I don't think the Canadian government is very keen on offering concessions, because I know Canadians are not keen on offering any kind of concession. So there's a lot of frustration there, I think, in the U.S. And I think there's a timeline on those negotiations, right? The U.S. has its congressional midterms coming up this fall, and I think there's basically an understanding that if a new deal between Canada and the U.S. isn't reached really in the next month or so, it'll be difficult to have it reached anytime soon because of those elections.
And how are Canadian officials reacting so far?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of runs the gamut in terms of the response. We've seen a really hard pushback from some premiers. Ontario Premier Doug Ford called for dollar tariffs on U.S. industries. That's a tough response. BC Premier David Eby, said that if Canadians aren't your friends, you're really running out of friends. And he went so far as to call the U.S. Embassy and said, the congratulations on your 250th anniversary that I sent you, that you posted to your website, please take it down. So that's been part of the response. I would say, Mark Carney put out a statement last night. It is a little bit more measured. He points out that all of Canada's actions have been in response to U.S. actions. This didn't come from nowhere. And he said, they're going to keep pushing for a good deal for Canadians. They've offered alternatives to the U.S. and haven't gotten much back. These tariffs don't come into effect right away. They take 30 days to come into force. And I think the Prime Minister may be trying to leave open possibilities. He didn't come right out of the gate with retaliatory tariffs of our own. So I think he's trying to leave open some possibilities as part of that negotiation. And that's what we're seeing now, I think.
And as mentioned, the premiers are gathering for their annual meeting this week in PEI. So how do you think that this is going to impact their agenda?
Well, I mean, this conversation was already on the agenda. The U.S. trade file was already part of that, but I think it just moved up for sure. And I think it's really going to hold a lot of attention during the meeting. They had a lot on the table they wanted to talk about. I'm not sure they're going to get to as many things as they would have previously. But certainly, this was always on the agenda, and I think it's going to stay on the agenda and be quite prominent.
And so, like you said, they won't get to a lot of things. So, where does that leave Canadian or regional issues on the list of priorities to tackle then?
Yeah, I think it moves them down the list. I know they wanted to talk about healthcare. They wanted to have some bigger conversations about internal trade barriers. I think that might stick around. Certainly the wildfires. I know they're particularly bad in Northern Ontario. I imagine some of that's drifting into Manitoba. And obviously they're also bad in BC right now. That was supposed to be part of the agenda. I'm not sure that it will hold as much prominence as it would have otherwise because of these new tariff threats.
And finally here, the Prime Minister is also set to meet with the premiers on Thursday. So how is this continued trade war affecting the federal-provincial relationship? Is it forcing more of a united front, you think?
Yeah, I think on this front, premiers have certainly been willing to give Mark Carney a lot. I think there is a trust there, and there is an expectation that, he's doing the best he can. I'm sure they'll want to hear more from where the negotiations stand and what progress is kind of being made. But I think generally the premiers take the same view as the Prime Minister when it comes to these trade negotiations.
Well, Ryan, thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Ryan Tumulty is a political reporter with the Toronto Star. Well, let's check in now with Josh Crabb with a look at your news headlines.
Good morning. We're checking for updates this morning on the search for 10-year-old Maximo and 13-year-old Arano Ramirez, who are presumed dead after falling into the water at Nudamik Lake. The younger brother slipped on rocks near Sturgeon Falls Saturday afternoon in Whiteshell Provincial Park. His older brother tried to save him. The RCMP divers and volunteers have been searching for the two boys. Today is by-election day for one area of the province. Voters in the constituency of the Pas-Kamisak have until 8 o'clock tonight to cast their ballots for a new MLA, and Thompson will soon open the doors on its new airport terminal. That project is now weeks away from accepting its first passengers to northern Manitoba. Your next local CBC News is at 7:30.
Thank you very much, Josh.
You're welcome.
Josh Crabb at your CBC News desk. Might be a smoky election day in the north. There's a yellow air quality warning in effect for the Pas, Norway House, Brochette, Dooley Lake, Lynn Lake, Thompson, Flin Flon, as well as Kennesaw, Saskatchewan as well, just over the border. So look out for that. As for the commute, there is one issue to keep an eye out for. Chevrier Boulevard / Crescent Drive and the intersection there with Pembina Highway. Lights are flashing red in all directions. Treat that as a four-way stop. Stay tuned. Still to come here on the show, as you heard from Josh, Manitoba RCMP are spreading awareness about safety on water, roads, and trails. This comes after a tragic weekend. Police responded to multiple tragedies involving young people, all in a span of 39 hours. So we're going to talk to the RCMP about this last weekend and what they hope people will learn going forward. That's coming up here on Information Radio. I'm Corey Funk, in for Marcy Marcusa. Stay tuned. We'll be back after World Report.
The Current. I'm Rebecca Zanbergen.
I told them, you got to stop these fires from coming in and poisoning our air.
Donald Trump is threatening tariffs on Canada over wildfire smoke, and leaders in this country are fighting back.
Maybe one day you're going to need our help like you did last year.
Is Canada doing all it can to fight and prevent the fires? That's coming up on The Current.
The Current, this morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. 50% duties and no CUSMA exemptions. Washington's latest trade offensive is sending shockwaves across this country, and it targets Canadian cars, dairy, and consumer goods with only 30 days before the new tariffs take effect. The CBC's Olivia Stefanovich has been following this for us from Ottawa. Olivia, how is the Prime Minister reacting to the new levies?
Well, the Prime Minister issued a statement just a few hours after U.S. President Donald Trump signed the 3 new proclamations against Canada. Mark Carney calls this action the latest in a series of unilateral U.S. trade actions violating CUSMA. And he says Ottawa made a series of detailed and comprehensive proposals to resolve the dispute with the U.S. and to modernize the trilateral free trade agreement over the last 18 months. Carney says Canada is ready to intensify those discussions in the coming weeks to address outstanding issues with the U.S. to the mutual benefit of their citizens.
And what about the opposition?
Well, the federal Conservatives also released a statement last night calling Trump's latest tariffs another unacceptable and unjustified attack on Canadian workers and businesses. The Conservatives are calling for the tariffs to be withdrawn immediately, and the opposition is also accusing Carney of surrendering Canada's leverage for a year and a half without securing a deal with the U.S. like the Prime Minister promised. We also have a reaction to bring to you this morning from the leader of the Bloc Québécois, Yves-François Blanchet.
It is one more example of the complete illogical behavior of the present White House. We have to adapt to that, and we now know, and they said it themselves, that the strategy being implemented by the Carney government is a failure so far.
NDP leader Avi Lewis also released a statement. He says this is the latest economic grenade lobbed across the border by an out-of-control president who, in his view, has lost all touch with reality. He also says that Canada must be ready to fight the U.S. with counter tariffs. And he says the Carney government must refrain from making any new concessions to Trump.
Thank you, Olivia.
You're welcome.
The CBC's Olivia Stefanovic in Ottawa. Foreign ministers from Southeast Asia are tackling the Middle East crisis. They are meeting in the Philippines today. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations is voting and voicing their concern over the war in Iran and the blockade of the critical Strait of Hormuz. This as other high profile diplomats prepare to talk war and energy on the sidelines. Reporter Laura Westbrook is following the developments.
Foreign ministers from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations are calling for the full reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Traditional U.S. allies like the Philippines are among those feeling the impacts from the conflict, with many Southeast Asian nations heavily dependent on oil and gas from the Middle East. The bloc is set to discuss cooperation on ensuring energy security. Maria Teresa Lazaro is the foreign minister of the Philippines.
We must continue this journey together, because cooperation is no longer a choice. It is a strategic necessity.
Lazaro says the world is living in a time of upheaval, uncertainty, and unpredictability. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is also in Manila and says he's open to meeting with his Chinese and Russian counterparts. But a meeting with China's top diplomat Wang Yi would come just days after U.S. President Donald Trump accused Beijing of meddling in U.S. elections. Still, Rubio insists that Chinese leader Xi Jinping's trip to Washington remained on track.
We anticipate that the trip is happening in September. They've continued to send over their teams to prepare for it. I've heard nothing otherwise.
Tensions in the South China Sea are also in focus amid another confrontation between the Philippines and China. Both nations accuse the other of instigating the clash. The United States condemned what it called China's dangerous actions. Laura Westbrook for CBC News, Hong Kong.
An explosion at a hydropower project in India has killed at least 10 people. 17 others are missing. It happened in the northeast of the country. Officials say a suspected gas explosion yesterday triggered a collapse of a tunnel under construction at the site. Rescue crews that went into the tunnel have themselves become trapped. The conditions are reportedly hazardous with high levels of toxic gases. Overnight, the U.S. military launched a 10th evening of airstrikes against Iranian targets. U.S. military footage shows jets taking off to conduct precision strikes. They claim to have hit Iranian air defense networks, missile sites, and command centers. In response, Iran's Revolutionary Guard fired at U.S. military bases in Kuwait and Bahrain. Tehran is also taking responsibility for targeting commercial tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. It forced at least one crew to abandon ship. 3 U.S. service members were killed over the weekend. U.S. President Donald Trump promised retaliation for the casualties. Diplomatic envoys from Pakistan are attempting to mediate a truce. Pakistan and Qatar help the U.S. and Iran with the recent memorandum of understanding that was supposed to end the war. Canada will become an official observer of the Global Combat Air Program. The announcement is expected later this morning in London. Prime Minister Mark Carney continues his push to expand military partnerships to minimize dependence on the U.S. Ashley Burke has the story from London.
At a major international air show in the UK, the next generation of fighter jet is on display. The UK, Japan, and Italy are working together to build it by 2035. But sources tell CBC News Canada will become the first observer of the program. Defense Minister David McGuinty wouldn't confirm the news on Monday, but said this.
We've been asked to consider to become an observer state. The only such state so far to have been asked to consider this. That's a big breakthrough.
The move opens the door for the government to take part in talks about what role Canadian industry can play.
It's cutting edge. It's a smart play for Canada and for Canadians. It's a smart play for this sector.
It's part of the Carney government's push to diversify partnerships to become far less reliant on the U.S.
We have a long-time dependency when it comes to trade to the U.S.
Industry Minister Melanie Joly was one of 4 members of the Prime Minister's cabinet at the Farnborough Air Show trying to make deals.
We're working on diversification. We are 4 ministers here working with companies all across the world to make sure that we expand our aerospace sector, but also that we diversify our markets.
McGuinty is expected to make the announcement about one of those deals, the Global Combat Air Program, later this morning. Ashley Burke, CBC News, London.
An old amusement park in southern Ontario has started a delicate mission. Marineland is flying 30 beluga whales to their new homes. The park shut down to the public about 2 years ago, but the belugas are now being sent to aquariums in the U.S. and Spain. Christy Burgess is a former trainer at Marineland. For her, the move is bittersweet.
I'm a little sad to see some of the families being split up. It's still light years better than staying at a decaying park.
The operation ends a saga for the whales. After Marineland closed, the belugas face the threat of euthanasia. Plans for Marineland's other animals are unclear. The park is still home to dolphins and deer. From forgotten Cold War radar bases to entire communities swallowed by time, Cape Breton is full of echoes from the past, and one YouTuber is making sure they're not lost to history by creating documentaries and giving virtual tours of some of the island's abandoned places. Ethan Hunt reports.
Every building you run into has a story, and I wanted to capture that story before you couldn't tell that story anymore.
Doug McCauley likes to explore abandoned places, like a mining town called Broughton, just east of Sydney, Nova Scotia. But it's been left to waste away in the forest of Cape Breton.
It's really emotional when you come out and you're just all by yourself and don't always understand what it is you're looking at, and realizing there's a bigger story there than maybe what I'm seeing.
McCauley is documenting the history of these forgotten places. It's why he created his YouTube channel, Abandoned Cape Breton. McCauley has chronicled 19 different places so far. His videos have as many as 20,000 views.
When it really connects with people is if it's something nostalgic for them. A lot of people from as far away as Japan have been commenting on the video saying, I haven't been there in 20 some odd years, and I do remember that place very well. It really does affect people in a way that I can't predict.
He tries to stay within the law and will ask for permission if the land is privately owned. During every video, he tells his audience that he only leaves behind footprints. History professor Lachlan McKinnon is one of his viewers.
We're able to get in touch with people's stories that lived in these houses or in these places, and it really creates more of a connection with the past.
McCauley's next video will feature an abandoned school, and he says many more are on the way. Ethan Hunt, CBC News, Broughton.
That is World Report. I'm Marcia Young. Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, and everywhere on the CBC Manitoba YouTube page. I'm Corey Funk, in for Marcy Marcusa. Well, it's, I don't want to say chilly, but moderate morning and day ahead. 16 right now at the Forks, heading for a high today of 22. We'll get more on your forecast just ahead. Smoky up north, though, for today's by-election. Coming up this hour on the show, police-involved shootings on mental health calls continue to happen in Winnipeg, even after recommendations are made to police to review their use of force policy. We're going to speak with a criminology professor to hear what he thinks about that. Also, many local farmers markets have special events planned this week for the second annual Manitoba Farmers Market Week. We're going to hear more from the executive director of Direct Farm Manitoba. But up first here on the show, Manitoba RCMP is urging people to stay safe. This comes after 2 suspected drowning incidents and 2 fatal collisions in the 39-hour period, all involving young people. More on that story coming up first here on Information Radio. But right now, though, let's check in with Josh Crabb with a look at your news headlines.
Good morning. The head of the Whiteshell Cottagers Association is overcome with sadness as crews continue to look for 2 missing boys on Nudamik Lake. The RCMP was called Saturday night about the 2 boys who fell into fast-flowing water at Sturgeon Falls. The owner of an RV park near Grunthal says he's sad and shocked after an 18-year-old man drowned Sunday night at a neighboring gravel pit. The Mounties say the man was trying to swim across it, went under, and didn't resurface. And a new terminal will soon open at Thompson's Airport. It's the province's second busiest, but the existing terminal is too small, too old, and starting to sink. Your next local CBC News is at 7:30.
Thank you very much, Josh.
You're welcome.
That's Josh Crabb at your CBC News desk. Abby Adiemi, what is going on with the weather?
Yeah, we're looking at wildfire smoke from northern fires triggering air quality warnings across the central part of the province and into the far north, while for the southern regions, it is staying clear and bright. Lots of sunshine already present in southern Manitoba, but here in the city, we're looking at temperatures hovering around 50 15, 16 degrees. It is clear and sunny outside. You will notice some breeze coming from the north later in the day as we head to a high of 22. And that's what we're seeing across most of the regions today. We'll see highs of 22 from the Pembina Valley region all the way to the Interlake region today, though we have smoke present in the Dauphin area. While up north, we're looking at air quality warnings, which is active due to the smoke around the power flame front stretching all the way towards Tudulu Lake this morning, and we'll see highs heading into the 24s as you travel towards those smoky Tudulu Lake this morning. So while the north deals with the smoke, the south stays sunny. Winnipeg, it is 16 and clear outside now.
Gotta say, kind of liking the 16 right now. It was, it's nice. It's like
I stepped outside this morning and it wasn't muggy, so I knew it's gonna be a beautiful day.
I know. I put on a sweater. It was like a nice, cool bike ride in. It almost was, and maybe this is a hot take, but it kind of got me a little bit excited for fall. Actually, it was a little taste of fall.
You already looking forward to October?
A little bit. I like fall. It's like I like it when it's cool, a little more moderate. The heat kind of wears on you after a little while. But.
Okay, Corey, I'll take that. Don't let
We can disagree. Let's take a quick look at your commute. The only issue that there's been throughout the morning, there's an update on that now. So the lights were flashing red at Chevrier Boulevard / Crescent Drive and Pembina Highway there, but the city says that has now been restored. So no other issues that we know of. But if you do see something going on out there, if you're walking your bike and you're driving, you can give us a call on the CBC commuter line. That number 204-788-3093. Well, up next here on Information Radio, RCMP is reminding Manitobans to stay safe and be extra cautious around water and roadways. This comes after police responded to multiple tragedies involving young people, all in a span of 39 hours. Officers say on Saturday morning, an 18-year-old from Dauphin died in a single vehicle crash. Then around lunchtime, Mounties were called about the two Winnipeg brothers, 10 and 13, who were believed to have slipped into fast-moving rapids at Nudimick Lake. Then later that day, a 16-year-old boy on his dirt bike died in a collision in Oak Lake. And on Sunday, an 18-year-old from Winnipeg went swimming at a gravel pit in the RM of Hanover and didn't resurface. Corporal Melanie Roussel joins us now. She's a media relations officer for the Manitoba RCMP. Good morning.
Good morning.
So what's your reaction when you hear all these calls happening over a 39-hour time span? It even hurt for me to kind of just say all those things that happened in such short a time.
Yeah, it's so sad, devastating, tragic. Like, I couldn't believe it when I came to work Monday morning and I heard about all these incidents. I mean, we're talking about 4 incidents involving 5 young people between the age of 10 and 18.
How unusual is it for RCMP to get this many calls in this time frame?
I mean, in my career, this is definitely a first for me just because of the age of the victims. I mean, we've had weekends where we've had 2, 3 fatal collisions, for example, but for this, for this many youths or young people, this is definitely a first for me. We never see this.
As you've been hearing in our report, so 2 boys aged 13 and 10, they're believed to have slipped into fast-moving rapids at Nudimick Lake in the White Shell. So what do we know this morning about how that search is going?
I don't have the recent update from this morning. I know that the plan is to continue searching the shorelines and boats on the water, looking for anything, any clues that would narrow our search. So that's where we're at right now.
Can you tell us more about the other suspected drowning incident involving the 18-year-old in the RM of Hanover?
Yeah, this happened just south of Granthal in the RM of Hanover. So this 18-year-old went for a swim, attempted to cross the body of water, and never resurfaced.
And what is RCMP's message when it comes to water safety?
I mean, don't swim alone. Don't overestimate your swimming abilities. Be aware of currents, strong waters. With children, always keep an eye on your children, and life jackets goes a long way.
Moving to those collisions now, there were 2 fatal collisions. What do we know about those cases?
Well, the one in Dawson, that was a motor vehicle collision. So the driver may have lost control while rounding a corner and went into the ditch there. And then for the one in the RMF Sifton, that was a dirt bike incident, and the 16-year-old had struck a unmarked guy wire.
And the one thread that connects all of these incidents over the weekend is, of course, the fact that they're all young people. So what is the RCMP's message to young people who are, going out to have a good time this summer?
Just be safe, be aware of your surroundings, know what you're getting into. I mean, especially for driving, don't drive alone. Be aware of where you're going. Look at maps if you need to. Wear a helmet. Wear your seatbelt. Don't speed. Don't drink and drive. Those are all good tips.
Corporal Roussel, thank you for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Corporal Melanie Roussel is a media relations officer for the Manitoba RCMP.
You know the voices that tell the story of our province. Now you can take them anywhere. From the essential start to your day on information radio to the conversations that define our lunch hour on Radio Noon and the pulse of the city on Up to Speed, your local connection is always within reach. Just open the CBC News app, tap the local drop-down, and hit play. Your favorite voices, your province, right in your pocket.
7:19 right now, and still to come on Information Radio, we're going to continue our series on fatal police shootings during mental health calls, and a criminologist who specializes in policing is going to join us to share his thoughts.
Certainly, people find themselves crossed with the law, or they find themselves in less than ideal circumstances. That doesn't mitigate the value of their life.
Stay tuned. That conversation coming up after 7:30. Right now, though, take a quick look at your weather at the Forks right now. It is 16. We're heading for a high today of 22. Brandon, you are sitting at 13. Also heading for a high today of 22. 13 right now in Brandon. You're going to be in Dauphin. You're going to be 24 today. And up in Thompson, there is a yellow air quality warning in effect because of smoke in the area. It's 8 right now. You're heading high for a high of 22 today with about a 30% chance of showers and even potential thunderstorms. Well, next up, we've got some time for some music before we get to your morning sports. And why not a little bit of Shania Twain to get your day going? Here she is with Up.
It's about as bad as it could be. Seems everybody's bugging me. Like nothing wants to go my way. Yeah, it just ain't been my day. Nothing's coming easily. Even my skin is acting weird. I wish that I could grow a beard. Then I could cover up my spots. Not play connect the dots. I just wanna disappear. Up, 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 can only go up from here. Up, 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 where the clouds gonna clear. Up, up, there's no way but up from here. Even something as simple as forgetting to fill up on gas. There ain't no explanation why things like that can make you cry. Just gotta learn to have a laugh. Oh, and up, 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 can only go up from here. Up, 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 where the clouds gonna clear. Up, up, there's no way but up from here. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When everything is going wrong, don't worry, it won't last for long. Yeah, it's all gonna come around. Don't go let it get you down. You gotta keep on holding on. It's about as bad as it could be. Seems everybody's bugging me. Like nothing wants to go
That's Shania Twain with Up. Now, earlier this month, Twain actually wrapped a 12-night run supporting Harry Styles in England, and she shared several posts on social media documenting her performances, also hinting that a Little Miss Twain tour could be in the works. Also, Shania Twain was also just on cue with Tom Power. This just came out, and she actually spoke with him about how losing her voice to Lyme disease helped her find new purpose. And you can find that interview on the CBC Arts page.
Feel that? That's the thrill of the Northern Super League. And it's back on CBC Gem, with 6 fierce clubs battling all season long for glory. From coast to coast, Canada's first professional women's soccer league is bringing the heat. For the fans who live for the roar of the crowd, the last-minute winner, and the moments that make sports unforgettable, this is your season. Watch the Northern Super League all season on CBC Gem.
7:24 right now here on Information Radio. If you're hitting the highways, it's still a reminder that there are still a number of closed highways in the Parkland region due to washouts and flooding. So do be sure to check Manitoba 511 before you hit the road this morning. And time now to check in with Scott Reguer with a look at your morning sports. Hi there, Scott. So let's just start with the World Cup now behind us. What's next for Canadian soccer?
Well, quite a lot, actually, Corey. The draw for the CONCACAF Nations League will be held on Thursday. Now, Canada is one of the top 4 ranked teams in its region, so a spot in the quarterfinals is guaranteed with that tournament starting in September. There is also the CONCACAF Under-20 Championship. That gets underway on Friday, and that will be where Canada's younger men will be trying to qualify for the Olympics. It would be the first time since 1984. And they'll also be trying to make an impression on their coach, Jesse Marsh, who isn't just in charge of this country's senior side as he tries to grow the game here from the ground up. Kenneth Heiner Moeller is the sporting director for Canada's national teams, and he says Marsh's commitment is extremely important.
This is what you want with your national team coach. You want a coach that's actually interested in the pathway. Having this opportunity for the players to actually show themselves to the national team coach is massive. And for Jesse to work with the players as well. So he knows where is the potential, where can we actually push the buttons. There's so many positives, and now the opportunity for us to have him coach as well is a perfect match for this one.
Kenneth Heiner Moeller speaking with One Soccer there. The reality is, Corey, as impressive as Canada's team was at this past World Cup, many of the players will likely age out before the next one is held. Striker Kyle Larin, defender Richie Larea, midfielder Stefan Eustachio, they're all in their 30s or about to be, which means replacements have to be groomed. So get ready for a lot of Ralph Prizo, Nico Segur, Promise David. And for more on what lies ahead for this team, Chris Jones has done a nice write-up on our CBC website this morning.
Hey, Messi's 40 or so. Who's to say those guys can't stick around for a while?
True enough. True enough. Sports science is at a place now where they are playing longer than they ever have, especially the players, the ilk of Messi.
Just have those collagens in the morning and you're good to go.
Is that right? Okay.
I don't know. That's what I take every once in a while. Well, next up here, let's switch sports now, where the Women's Tennis Association has made a controversial decision.
It has. Starting today, Corey, it is introducing mandatory gene testing for all of its players. It will be a requirement to compete at the LA Olympics. The WTA says the testing is to, quote-unquote, preserve the integrity of women's pro tennis and maintain fair competition for all players. World number 1 Aryna Sabalenka was asked her thoughts about possibly competing against trans athletes.
I have nothing to do against them, but I feel like they still got huge advantage over the woman. And I think it's just not fair to a woman to basically face biologically man. The woman been working the whole life to reach her limit, and then she has to face a man, which biologically much stronger.
Aryna Sabalenka speaking on the Piers Morgan show there. The WTA's new policy, Corey, brings it in line with U.S. President Donald Trump's executive order on sports ahead of the LA Games. Now, it is unclear how many, if any, transgender women are competing at the Olympic level. The WTA says its policy distinguishes between biological sex and gender identity, and that there is no intent to disrespect or to question the gender identity or the dignity of any person. The mandatory gender screening, though, which is already conducted by governing bodies of track and field, skiing, and boxing, has been criticized by human rights experts as well as activist groups.
Now to baseball, where if the Blue Jays are going to make another World Series run, they need to get back on track soon.
Like now.
Yesterday.
Yeah, probably yesterday. They're almost 2/3 of the way through their season now, Corey, and after a loss against Tampa last night, they sit at the bottom of their division. Fortunately for them, their division, as well as the whole American League, is pretty mediocre. To wit, even though Toronto is 8 games below 500, they still have a chance to earn the final wildcard spot. They're only 5.5 games out. What a difference a year makes, though. Jays manager John Schneider was asked about his team's current psyche.
They all understand where we're at. They all understand that it's not going great right now, but I take these guys every night, especially defensively. If these guys weren't doing that, I'm frustrated with them. I'm not mad at them. And it's a fine line between saying, hey, every game is important and there's a sense of urgency, and then playing tight.
Now, it would help, Corey, if Vladdy Guerrero Jr. could get back on track. We're 100 games into the season. He still hasn't hit a home run at home yet. Meanwhile, with the trade deadline fast approaching, an interesting name has been linked with the light-hitting Jays. Former shortstop Bo Bichette is said to be available. Could you imagine? That would be something. Don't know if that's the right decision, but you might want to roll it back just for the good vibes we had last season and with Bichette in the fold. We shall see. It's still 2 weeks away, the trade deadline.
Oh, yeah, we'll see. Well, thank you very much, Scott.
You bet.
That is Scott Regehr at your CBC Sports Desk. Time now for your CBC News from Manitoba.
This is CBC News. Good morning, I'm Josh Crabb in Winnipeg. At 7:30, it's sunny and 16 downtown, 16 in Gimli, and 8 into Dooley Lake. The head of the Whiteshell Cottagers Association says he's overcome with sadness as crews continue to look for 2 missing boys on Nudimick Lake. The RCMP was called Saturday about the 2 boys who fell into fast-flowing water at Sturgeon Falls. Officers say the brothers, 10-year-old Maximo and 13-year-old Arano Ramirez, didn't resurface. Cottage Association President Don Binda says he saw emergency vehicles rush past his cabin. Binda says he's in disbelief.
I sensed there was an issue, but I didn't hear anything. And around 8 o'clock at night, I got a couple phone calls, and it's just surreal as to what's transpired.
Binda says he hopes the community can band together and pray for and support the family. He hopes they can also raise more awareness about water safety. An 18-year-old Winnipeg man has drowned southeast of the city. The RCMP says he was with friends at a gravel pit Sunday night south of Grunthal. While trying to swim across the pit, officers say the man went under and never resurfaced. Andrew Fair owns the neighboring Green Valley RV park. He says residents noticed a helicopter flying over the nearby pit Sunday night.
Feels pretty bad. I grew up swimming in those pits too, but they were a lot smaller. I think it's deceptively large. I know those pits are probably, I'm guessing they're a minimum of 20 feet deep. So that's really sad.
An RCMP dive team found the man's body yesterday afternoon. Canada is bracing for a new wave of American tariffs. U.S. President Donald Trump says he plans to impose 50% tariffs on a range of Canadian products in 30 days. Sharon Yonan-Reynolds reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump calls the tariffs a response to Canada's, quote, discrimination against U.S. motor vehicles, dairy, and alcohol. The proclamations list hundreds of Canadian exports, from dairy to hockey sticks, slapped with a 50% tariff. It's the Trump administration's fallback negotiation tactic, says Ottawa-based trade lawyer Rambod Baboudi.
They expect to get something out of it, presumably the removal of Canadian measures, provincial measures on alcohol.
The U.S. president also pointing to Canada's 25% tariff on U.S. motor vehicles not covered by the Canada-United States-Mexico Agreement and Canada's system limiting American dairy imports. In a statement, Prime Minister Mark Carney's office says they're ready to intensify trade discussions with the U.S. in the coming weeks. Sharon Yonan-Reynolds, CBC News, Montreal.
A major storm is bearing down on the U.S. Gulf states. The outer bands of Tropical Storm Bertha hit central Florida last night. The system is moving west across the Gulf of Mexico, tracking towards Alabama, Louisiana, and Mississippi. It's expected to bring winds exceeding 120 kilometers an hour and as much as 200 millimeters of rain. Those coastal states are preparing for possible flooding and storm surges over the next few days. More national and international news coming up in World Report at 8 o'clock. A Manitoba cyclist says he's frustrated by a long wait to find out whether the dog that bit him was apprehended. Tim Woodcock says he was cycling on a bike path in the RM of St. Andrews July 7th when a woman's dog attacked him. The 62-year-old says he suffered several deep bites to his thigh. He says it should not have taken a week for the RM to tell him the dog was quarantined as required to assess rabies risks.
Much faster responses, but also more clarity to the victim. You know, we're in the dark the whole time. We're having to do all the phone calls, it seemed like, and running around, and waiting an entire week.
Woodcock says the dog was a pit bull, but a veterinarian says it's a mix of bully breeds. The RM says the dog was initially confined to its owner's home before it was quarantined, but has not specified when either began. And Thompson will soon open the doors on its new airport terminal. The project is now weeks away from accepting its first passengers to northern Manitoba. Thompson's airport is Manitoba's second busiest behind Winnipeg, but the terminal is too small, too old, and part of it is sinking into the ground. The new terminal includes enhanced security and its own water treatment plant. Mayor Colleen Smook said the new terminal has a big price tag, but she hopes it'll drive more development.
When you're spending $100+ million, you want to make sure that the finished product is right. They have done that. They have their own water treatment plant, which started, and that'll benefit all of the airport and any new housing or that goes out toward there.
The terminal is expected to open for passengers late next month. That is the CBC News from Winnipeg. Your next local CBC News is at 8:30.
Thank you very much, Josh.
You're welcome.
That's Josh Crabb at your CBC News desk. Abby Adeyemi is in with a look at your nice weather down south, smoky weather up north.
Yeah, I'm looking outside and I just want to go outside for a walk or just go enjoy, one of those days where it's not as humid as it's been in the last 5-6 days. But today you're getting that break. You can spend some time outside. Up north, a different story. We have wildfire smoke from those northern fires really triggering the air quality warnings across regions from the Par towards Norway House and all the way around the Thompson area, Lynn Lake, towards Tudor Lake this morning, really keeping hazy skies in the northern part of the province. While down south, we see more of clear conditions and just a bit mild and warm. Here in the city, 16 degrees right now, sunny in Winnipeg, breezy north winds you will feel. Expect the sun to make a transition to a mix of sun and clouds as we get into the afternoon, and we will see highs around 22 degrees with just a few clouds tonight. So if you have plans for today and even tomorrow, you'll definitely enjoy some time outside. Now in the Pembina Valley region, Morris towards Morden, all the way towards Port de la Prairie, we're seeing sunny skies there, 16 degrees at this time, also climbing to 22. Brandon is looking at 13, partly cloudy there at this time, high of 22. Now around the Dauphin area, we have local smoke. It's sunny there, 13 degrees, aiming for a high close to 25 degrees. Gimli and most of the regions in the Interlake, we're seeing sunny conditions there, 14 at this time, hitting a high of 22. You will notice the winds coming from the north as well. Then we cross over into the central part of the province where we're looking at smoky skies around the Par, Flim Flan, sunny there at this time, 13, 15, depending on where you are. You see highs climbing to 26. Then we look at the Norway House area, sunny, 11 degrees, local smoke present, high 23. There's a slim chance of late afternoon storms and showers in that part of the province. Thompson and nearby, mostly cloudy, 10 degrees with local smoke, reaching a high of 22 today. Slim chance of afternoon showers also in the forecast. Around the Lynn Lake area, we see sunny conditions at 12 degrees, smoke building this afternoon, topping out at 24. And then we go to Churchill, where we have sunny skies at 11, climbing to a high of 20. So it's more about bright across board, but the smoke will not really let the folks up north enjoy those clear skies. But for the southern regions, we're looking at a clear, beautiful start. We're seeing temperatures already 15, 16s across board, and we'll see highs near 24 degrees today.
Thank you very much, Abby.
Thank you.
That's Abby Adiemi with a look at your weather. Commute so far here in Winnipeg looking okay. Of course, still issues on the highways in the Parkland region right now. Lots of washed out highways, particularly one that's still closed is Highway 83 between Roblin and Inglis because of flooding in the area. So do check Manitoba 511 before you hit the highways. But if you see anything else going on out there, you can give us a call on the CBC commuter line. That number 204-788-3093. Well, 7:38 right now, and next up on Information Radio, it's Manitoba Farmers Market Week here in the province, and the week celebrates the importance of farmers markets in communities across Manitoba. And Christy Schertzer is the Executive Director of Direct Farm Manitoba, and she joins me now in studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Corey. Nice to be here.
Good to have you. So what can people look forward to at their local farmers markets this week to mark the occasion?
Yeah, well, we're very excited to have our second annual Provincial Farmers Market Week. So it's a week, as Corey said, to celebrate everything that's farmers market. So we're just really encouraging people to get out to their local farmers market, try a new farmers market, get out there, chat with farmers, high five a farmer, celebrate food and baking and making and all the great stuff that is farmers markets in Manitoba.
And what are you hearing from farmers about how things are going this year in particular because of all this weather and things like that at their at the local farmers markets?
Yeah, so it's pretty mixed bag because across the province, there's farmers that we're hearing are getting just the right amount of rain. There are unfortunately some farmers we have who were rained right out of this year's crop. So it's a pretty mixed bag. But in general, right now is a super time to get out to your farmer's market. Everything's really coming in. You're going to see your first tomatoes. You're going to see lots of great greens, green beans, peas, zucchini, cucumbers, all the great stuff coming to farmers markets right now.
And what do you hear about how important these small farmers markets are to the revenue of these farms?
Yeah, these farmers markets are incredibly important. So we think of farmers markets as small business incubators. So if you imagine you're a new food business or a new farm, a farmers market is a great low barrier way to get your start. So you can come to a farmer's market, you pay a small table fee, and you see lots of foot traffic coming through. So you can have really instant feedback on your products. And it's a fantastic way. And if you want to see what's going to be new in food and new and upcoming, it's free. Head to your local farmer's market and see what's going on.
You've been actually part of the scene for a long time. Yeah. You're wearing your old high five a farmer shirt back when it was the Farmers Market Association.
Yeah.
How has the scene changed over the years? Have you seen more demand for farmers markets or less? How has it changed over the years?
Yeah, it's definitely ebbed and flowed. The one thing that we keep seeing is that farmers are what makes a farmer's market. So if you're going to a market and it's a farmer's market, you're going to see farmers there selling farm food. So one thing we've seen is, especially during COVID, there was a big interest in local food when people were looking at local food chains. People are really interested in sustainable buying. Farmers markets are a great way to talk to your farmer, to buy something that's local. So I'd say that the interest is there, and and it's a great way to know where your food's coming from.
And what were some of the takeaways from last year's week that you're bringing to this year's festivities to celebrate, farmers market?
It was really exciting last year to celebrate our first ever Manitoba Farmers Market. And different farmers markets had, there's always fantastic things to do at farmers markets, but some of them had extra activities. We had button making, cake cutting, there were 50-50 draws. So again, you can visit our website, directfarmmanitoba.ca, and click on the farmers market map or the list and find a farmers market to visit this week.
Do you have any advice for people who are, heading to their local farmers market, maybe for the first time, they're thinking of making the jaunt?
Yeah, first off, farmers markets are free. So you want to find something interesting to do, meet your community members, head to the farmers market, bring a bag or a basket or something, maybe a few if you're going to buy your groceries for the week, and try something new. And if you wonder, how do I use this? How do I cook it? Farmers love, and bakers, they love to talk about their product, how it's grown, how they've raised it, and they'd be happy to answer your questions.
What about you? Why are you so passionate about farmers markets and the role they play in Manitoba?
Yeah, I think farmers markets are such important community gathering spaces. So there's not a lot of places you can go anymore, besides probably libraries, where you can meet anyone at the farmers market from your community. And they're also fantastic places to have food access in communities. So I think combining those things and contributing to the local economy is such a sustainable way to gather as a community and to build that community well-being.
Is there any stories that stick out to you of encounters or moments that you've had at farmers markets over the year? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot too much. I imagine they must come up though pretty lots of things.
Yeah, I think for me, because I get to visit lots of farmers markets around the province, I'm always just really excited to see the people that are just coming back. Like, they're there say the farmers market starts at 8, they're there at 8 every week, year round. They're there when the farmers market's open. And there's been some beautiful moments. What I love to see is first-time farmers market goers, people who didn't know, like you and I were talking this morning, one of our farmers markets moved locations, and a whole bunch of community members were like, wow, I didn't know we had a farmers market in our community, and it's really exciting to see people embrace that.
Mm-hmm. I'll say after daycare, I pick my kids up, and on Tuesdays and Thursdays we go to the Wolseley farmers market together, and it's the one way to get them out of it, because they like daycare too. I say, we're going to the farmers market, and they just rush to the door because they're so usually they get a treat, obviously, at the farmers market, but it's really become a part of our routine. So thanks for coming in and talking about it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
That's Christy Schertzer. She is the Executive Director of Direct Farm Manitoba. You can find a list of local Manitoba's farmers markets at directfarmmanitoba.ca.
When I first loved you, you said, hold on, I'm not ready. So I went walking through tall grass, hoping we'd lay among wildflowers. Among I knew that you loved me when you wouldn't leave my side, and when you brought me a bouquet from the roadside of wildflowers, of wildflowers. 'Cause
That's Winnipeg's own Madeline Roger with Wildflowers. We are sitting at 16 right now in Winnipeg at the Forks, heading for a high of 22. 13 in Brandon, heading for a high as well of 22. That perfect room temperature. As well as Dauphin, you're 13 right now, heading for a high today of 24. And Thompson, you are at 8 right now. Your high is 22 today with a chance of showers. Also, a yellow air quality warning in effect for Thompson and much of the north. Well, up next here on Information Radio, we continue our series on looking at the different perspectives on police-involved shootings where mental health is a factor. Over the past 7 years, CBC Manitoba has reported on 6 police-involved shootings that appear to involve mental health calls, including one that happened just last week in Winnipeg's Linden Woods neighborhood. Of those shootings, all of them resulted in a person dying. And yesterday, we heard from Zane Tesler, the former civilian director of Manitoba's Independent Investigation Unit, our province's police watchdog. Here's some of what he said.
No police officer, wants to shoot or kill anyone when they're dealing with any individual. Officers themselves receive training in terms of de-escalating tactics and what steps need to take to try and diffuse a situation that is potentially volatile and very violent that can switch gears within milliseconds. I know that there's a move these days to involve mental health co-workers with the police to provide that extra degree of interaction with an individual to try and diffuse that situation. But I have to caution that it's not 100% foolproof. It's not going to eliminate every possible scenario where lethal force will be resorted to by police.
Police and mental health calls. Are there solutions? Tandeep Sidhu is an assistant professor in the Department of Sociology and Criminology at the University of Manitoba, and he specializes in policing. Good morning.
Good morning.
So what are your thoughts hearing about another fatal police-involved shooting on a mental health call?
Yeah, so I think one of the important things to highlight in these instances is that this is not the storm, this is the drain. And what we mean by that is this is the byproduct of a systemic underfunding of the healthcare system. And that's something on an institutional level that these things require a generational fix. However, political life cycles often don't last 20 years or so. So as a result, what ends up happening is the police are the ones who get tasked with dealing with these systemic issues on a day-to-day basis. And this is where we see these concerns rise as it relates to police-involved shootings, especially in cases involving mental health calls.
So then what do you think is missing when you send police to respond to a mental health call then?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we want to emphasize is that there needs to be a much more concerted investment in community-based mental health supports and ensuring that people are provided with the necessary supports to deal with addictions, to deal with longstanding mental health concerns before they get to this point of which the police are called and then the police are dealing with somebody in a state of crisis. Because these situations are often fluid, and oftentimes you have patrol officers who are the ones interacting with individuals in a state of crisis, and it often is, these fluid situations often result in somebody being killed, especially when there is a perceived threat to an officer.
You've also said in the past that there are pseudoscientific principles that get incorporated into police training when it comes to the responding to. Go ahead.
Yeah, not so much the police training, but more so the broader societal discourse around use of force. So a lot of this is what we see when we see online discourse about use of force, when we see online interpretations of body camera footage and things of that nature. We also see this rise in these private organizations or these private companies who provide expert training or expert testimony to the courts in cases involving police use of force. And oftentimes, as the case with most expert witnesses is that they testify things that are beyond the scope of their expertise.
Yeah, like what?
So effectively what we'll often have is they'll make claims about people under the influence of methamphetamine or people under the influence of particular substances and overemphasize their physical strength or things of that nature. Much of that is based on anecdotal evidence as opposed to a long-standing body of scientific evidence.
So here in Winnipeg, we do have an intervention program called ARC or ARCC that pairs, as we heard Tesler mention there, plainclothes police officers with a mental health clinician to respond to non-criminal mental health calls. And in this recent case in Linden Woods, ARC was deployed. Should they have been, you think?
Yeah, so I think anything that focuses on reducing harm or reducing the potential of harm, especially as it relates to mental health calls, is a step in the right direction. One of the things that, again, we want to highlight is the fact that to address this issue, it requires a much more concerted investment in community mental health. And what we mean from that lens is that this is something that's going to take 2 decades or so to fix in its actuality. So when we look at what can be done in the context of reducing the harm or reducing the violence of policing in these interactions, something along the lines of ARC is certainly an appropriate measure. We also want to see potentially the police being equipped. It's not a perfect scenario. It's not something that's ideal. But again, if the emphasis is on reducing the potential of deaths involving police, perhaps a greater investment in non-lethal weapons to police. So, for example, there's a weapon that's called the R137. It's a ballistic impact projectile launcher. It shoots rubber bullets at subjects. So something along those lines, which we do see patrol officers becoming more and more equipped with on a recent basis across Canada, equipping police officers with ballistic shields. These are all things that have been implemented in other jurisdictions, and it's not a perfect solution by any means. It's probably likely to generate some controversy as it relates to the militarization of police, but it's anything that in the interim that can address these systemic issues. It's from reducing the harms and the violence of policing is something that could, in theory, be viewed as a step in the right direction.
And apologies, I said ARC was deployed. ARC was not deployed in that case in Linden Woods. Just to be clear here. So I actually do want to talk a little bit about issues of de-escalation here. So. An inquest report into a 2020 police shooting was released last week. It was looking into the fatal police shooting of a 22-year-old Stuart Andrews. And according to the inquest report, Andrews was shot in a back lane in Maples, and he was swinging a metal pipe at one officer while another officer was holding a police dog that was lunging at Andrews. Now, at the inquest, the police use of force expert said, quote, constant verbal commands to drop the pipe were consistent with the best practice in Canada and were a form of de-escalation. And then the expert went on to say, quote, the dog barking is also a form of de-escalation, as the dog barking can be intimidating enough to promote compliance to avoid further interaction with the dog, unquote. So what do you think about calling those things de-escalation techniques?
I mean, technically, if you're going to apply that logic, pointing a firearm at somebody is also a form of de-escalation if you're going to apply that logic. I think it misses the broader point of these interactions, and I think what it's also highlighting is right now in the Canadian context, police services will emphasize in their public communications a commitment to de-escalation, and we'll see in use of force reports, for example, in Ontario, where use of force data is publicly released, that there's an emphasis that the officers engage in de-escalation tactics 90% of the time, or whatever the statistic may be in any given case. It's very important to critically engage with what's meant by de-escalation and what that looks like in practice. And oftentimes when you're looking at something like use of force reports, for example, it's just a case of checking off a box to say that de-escalation was used. What that actually looks like in practice, those are two completely different things, right? But again, this is where we begin to caution people to be very careful about how they interpret institutional statistics, because these things are political products. Institutional statistics, by their very design, are intended to buttress these institutional interests.
And actually, it seems like the judge is wanting the police to critically engage with that idea of de-escalation. So in that same report, the judge also said, quote, I recommend the Winnipeg Police Service's use of force policy should be reviewed and revised to include expanded explanations of tactical considerations with respect to de-escalation and tactical repositioning. What do you think the Winnipeg Police will do with that recommendation?
It depends. The Winnipeg Police Service is a unique beast in and of itself in the Canadian context. There's not really any other police service that operates the way the Winnipeg Police Service does. Some of the research relationships the Winnipeg Police Service has formed in the past have been the subject of scrutiny. They have been the subject of criticism. There's a number of academics across Canada that have criticized the Winnipeg Police's partnerships being characterized by a potential conflict of interest. More specifically, what we talk about is the police are a gatekeeper organization. They control what researchers have access to them, and by virtue of that, it's effectively a case where you could theoretically look at it from the lens of they will work with researchers, or they will work with research teams, or they will work with parties that serve their broader interests.
Well, we have to leave it there. Tandeep, thanks for your time this morning.
No problem. Thank you.
Tandeep Sidhu is an assistant professor in the Department of Sociology and Criminology at the University of Manitoba. We've requested the Minister of Justice, Matt Wiebe, for an interview. The Winnipeg Police Service declined a request for an interview. Stay tuned to Information Radio this week as we continue the series on police-involved shootings and mental health. Well, 7:58 right now, and still to come here on Information Radio, we're going to be switching gears to something entirely different. The circus is coming to town, and our studio as well. Later, after 8 o'clock, we're going to have 3 performers from Cirque Italia join us for a live interview and a bit of a performance in the studio as well. Stay tuned for that. That's coming up here on Information Radio. I'm Corey Funk, in for Marcy Marcusa. We'll be back after World Report.
On cue. Hi, I'm Jill Deacon, sitting in for Tom Power. We're used to seeing Luke Wilson play the sympathetic, nice guy in Legally Blonde, in Old School, The Royal Tenenbaums. He'll tell you about the challenge and the fun of playing a smug jerk in his new show with Will Ferrell, The Hawk.
Even I've had to adapt, and I'm nowhere near as old as you are.
Q, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current.
I'm Rebecca Zanbergen. Donald Trump is threatening tariffs on Canada over wildfire smoke, and leaders in this country are fighting back. But politics aside, is Canada doing all it can to fight and prevent the fires? That's coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. Canada is once again on the defensive. U.S. President Donald Trump is threatening 50% tariffs on some Canadian exports, and he's given a 30-day deadline for when they're to take effect. Prime Minister Mark Carney says Ottawa is ready to engage with Washington to reach a resolution. The CBC's Julia Wong joins me now from Washington. And Julia, what exactly is Trump threatening?
He's threatening to slap a 50% tariff on certain Canadian goods, which is a massive jump from the 10% tariff in place right now for some products. The list is wide-ranging, from milk to wine to some hockey equipment. Notably, it doesn't include vehicle or auto parts, and certain products like energy, potash, and fish would be exempt. But here is the kicker. Goods that up until now had been allowed into the U.S. tariff-free because they comply with CUSMA, the Canada-U.S.-Mexico Free Trade Agreement, they will now be subject to this 50% tariff. U.S. President Donald Trump signed 3 proclamations yesterday to impose these tariffs, which can be applied to countries deemed to discriminate against industries in the United States. And the maximum tariff the administration could inflict was 50%. So the U.S. clearly looking to apply the greatest amount of pressure on Canada.
Has there been any reaction from other officials in Washington?
You know, right now reaction has been quite limited, but when these details rolled out, senior administration officials said that the new tariffs were being applied because of what they describe as Canada's retaliation against U.S. trade policy. Now, Canada being one of the few countries that hit back against U.S. tariffs with its own counter tariffs. Officials also say the new tariffs are because of what they call discrimination against U.S. vehicles, dairy, and alcohol, sectors that have long been identified as being trade irritants for the U.S. Now, the timing here is important. The U.S. is holding trade talks with Mexico starting today to review CUSMA, but similar talks between Canada and the U.S. have stalled. So with these new rates set to take effect in about 30 days, this could be a negotiating tactic from the United States.
All right, thank you, Julia.
Thank you.
The CBC's Julia Wong in Washington. Trump's latest tariff gambit comes as Canada's premiers gather on Prince Edward Island. They're in Charlottetown for their annual summer meeting. CBC has learned they will meet virtually with the Prime Minister later today to discuss the new wave of U.S. tariffs targeting Canadian goods. But as Janice McGregor reports, provinces that pulled U.S. booze off the shelves in retaliation for Trump's first tariffs seem to be digging in, not giving in.
At this point, I just feel sorry for Americans.
If Donald Trump thought his latest threat would change BC Premier David Eby's mind, sorry to disappoint.
Will you put American booze back on the shelf?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
You know, I have to talk to forestry families that face a tariff of above 50% because our softwood is a national security risk to the United States, while Russian softwood is taking its place in the United States.
Premiers yet to arrive in Charlottetown voiced similar resolve on social media. Quebec's Christiane Frechette calling it unjustified, concerning, weakening the dairy industry, non-negotiable, no compromise, she said. Ontario's Doug Ford said he'll never stop fighting, calling for Canada to respond dollar for dollar.
Premiers are political animals, and they take their cues from public opinion.
Professor Jared Wesley from the University of Alberta.
So far, public opinion remains, supportive of an elbows-up approach.
You know what? I don't even drink, but I'll drink for my country.
You'll drink for your country.
U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra was in Alberta earlier, pouring out shots, toasting warmer relations in a province that broke ranks with the U.S. ban in other provincial liquor retailers. Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith wasn't at the dinner with Eby and other premiers on Monday night. In that room, the solidarity was strong.
I didn't hear anyone in there talking about putting American booze on the shelf, I'll tell you that.
Janice McGregor, CBC News, Charlottetown.
The crisis in the Middle East is hanging over the ASEAN meeting in the Philippines. Foreign ministers from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations are gathering in Manila. They're addressing the war in Iran and concerns over the Strait of Hormuz. Maria Teresa Lazaro is the Philippines foreign minister.
We live in a time defined by what I call the 3 U's: upheaval, uncertainty, and unpredictability.
Lazaro said cooperation is no longer a choice, but a strategic necessity. There are 11 nations at the summit, and ministers say the latest escalations in the Middle East diminish the prospect of a peaceful resolution. Top diplomats from several other nations are also joining talks in Manila this week. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is expected to attend. The risks for ships in key international waterways are rising. Houthi forces have opened a second maritime front. They're now targeting oil routes used by Saudi Arabia in the Red Sea. Overnight, U.S. forces completed another wave of bombings against Iranian targets. It was the 10th consecutive night of strikes. As Crystal Mansing reports, global energy supplies beyond the Gulf could be disrupted.
I think everyone's a loser. The only way you get out of this all right is if we can reassert maritime transit to Straits of Hormuz.
Mark Montgomery is a retired U.S. Navy Rear Admiral and senior fellow at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Late Monday, the U.S. wrapped up its 10th successive night of attacks on Iran. Montgomery says it's unlikely the U.S. can degrade Iran's abilities to attack ships in the Strait of Hormuz to zero, but the nightly attacks are effective.
I do think these bombing 100 to 200 strikes a night against the maritime infrastructure of Iran and the infrastructure for striking ships, whether it's radars, spotters, direction finders, I think they are attriting Iranian ability to threaten ships.
Traffic has yet to increase in the Strait of Hormuz, and there are now calls from Qatar for the international community to enforce rights of freedom of navigation in the Red Sea. The Iran-backed Houthis declared they're blocking oil exports from Saudi Arabia near the Bab al-Mandeb Strait. It leads to the Red Sea, which Saudi Arabia has been using its ports there to get around Iran's blockade of the Persian Gulf. With the new threats and the ongoing strikes and counterstrikes, Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian noted the Islamic Republic of Iran is engaged in a full-scale war. Crystal Gamansing, CBC News, London.
An explosion at a hydropower project in India has killed at least 10 people. 17 others are missing. It happened in the northeast of the country. Officials say a suspected gas explosion yesterday triggered a collapse of a tunnel that is under construction at the site. Rescue crews that went into the tunnel have themselves become trapped. The conditions are reportedly hazardous with high levels of toxic gases. An old amusement park in southern Ontario has started a delicate mission. Marineland is flying 30 beluga whales to their new homes. The park shut down to the public about 2 years ago, but the belugas are now being sent to aquariums in the U.S. and Spain. Christy Burgess is a former trainer at Marineland. For her, the move is bittersweet.
I'm a little sad to see some of the families being split up. It's still light years better than staying at a decaying park.
The operation concludes with the long saga for the whales. After Marineland closed, the belugas face the threat of euthanasia. Plans for Marineland's other animals are unclear. The park is still home to dolphins and deer. From forgotten Cold War radar bases to entire communities swallowed by time, Cape Breton is full of echoes from the past, and one YouTuber is making sure they're not lost to history by creating documentaries and giving virtual tours of some of the island's abandoned places. Ethan Hunt reports.
Every building you run into has a story, and I wanted to capture that story.
Doug McCauley likes to explore abandoned places, like a mining town called Broughton, just east of Sydney, Nova Scotia. It's been left to waste away in the forest of Cape Breton.
It's really emotional when you come out and you just don't always understand what it is you're looking at, and realizing there's a bigger story there than maybe what I'm seeing.
McCauley is documenting the history of these forgotten places. It's why he created his YouTube channel, Abandoned Cape Breton. His videos have as many as 20,000 views.
When it really connects with people is if it's something nostalgic for them. It really does affect people in a way that I can't predict.
He tries to stay within the law and will ask for permission if the land is privately owned. History professor Lachlan McKinnon is one of his viewers.
We're able to get in touch with people's stories that lived in these houses or in these places, and it really creates more of a connection with the past.
McCauley's next video will feature an abandoned school, and he says many more are on the way. Ethan Hunt, CBC News, Broughton.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, and everywhere on the CBC Manitoba YouTube page. I'm Corey Funk, in for Marcy Marcusa, and right now in Winnipeg, we are sitting at a fairly chilly 16 degrees, at least compared to what it's been the past couple of weeks, heading for a high today of 22 before things get much, much warmer. We're going to get the details on your forecast ahead, and especially the details on those smoky skies up north for today's by-election. Coming up this half hour on the show, the circus is in town and in our studio as well. Coming up just ahead, 3 performers from Cirque Italia join us for a live interview and a bit of a performance in studio as well. So if you want to tune into YouTube, we're going to see something pretty spectacular coming up right here on Information Radio. First, though, let's check in with Josh Crabb with a look at your news headlines.
Good morning. The search will continue today for 10-year-old Maximo and 13-year-old Arano Ramirez, who are presumed dead after falling into the water at Nudimic Lake. The younger brother slipped on rocks near Sturgeon Falls Saturday afternoon. His older brother tried to save him. The RCMP says searchers will be looking along the shoreline and boats will be searching for clues on the water that could help them find the 2 boys. Advanced voting numbers are in for a provincial by-election taking place today in northern Manitoba. 1,799 advance votes were cast in the Paw-Kamisak. Voters have until 8 o'clock tonight to cast their ballot in that race. And Thompson will soon open the doors on its new airport terminal. The project is now weeks away from accepting its first passengers. Your next local CBC News is at 8:30.
Thank you very much, Josh.
You're welcome.
Abby Adeyemi, what is going on with the weather?
Yeah, we have air quality warnings across northern Manitoba this morning. We're looking at hazy skies around communities and the power flowing towards Thompson, Lynn Lake and Tuduli Lake this morning. However, for the southern regions, we're looking at clear, sunny skies. Winnipeg, looking at sunny conditions outside, 16 at this time. We're noticing some breeze from the north. We're reaching a daytime high of 22 later before dipping to that clear low of 12 degrees. So it's going to be a cool evening across southern Manitoba. Most of the regions in the south enjoying lots of sunshine now. Some regions already touching 17, like around the Morden area. We're seeing 17 there, and also towards Melita, we're seeing 16 in that part of the province. Most areas down south will warm up close to 25 degrees, while up north we're seeing temperatures already in this like close to 16 around Lynn Lake at this time. Though those sunny conditions really blocked out by the hazy skies and the smoke in the air in those regions. So take care if you are in that part. In Churchill right now, we're looking at sunny conditions, temperatures around 13 degrees. But Winnipeg, we are climbing to a high of 22 today.
Thank you very much, Abby.
Thank you.
Quiet commute so far. Haven't heard of any major issues, of course. Still flooding in the Parkland region. So check Manitoba 511 before you hit the highway. If you do see anything, though, you can give us a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093. Well, up next year on Information Radio, the circus is coming to town later this week. Cirque Italia is bringing their show Water Circus Nautilus to Winnipeg St. Vital Centre. And this morning, our studio is getting a show of its very own. Alex Acero is the spokesperson and ringleader. Araceli Selva and Brandon Ayala are performing in the circus, and they join me now in studio. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
So, Alex, I want to start with you. So your show is called Water Circus Nautilus. So what's the story being told in this performance?
Well, Cirque Italia is a water circus. That's what we call. We have performers working around the water. A lot of people think we're swimming. No, we don't swim. We just work around water. And it's a really nice history. It started with me coming out at the Nautilus, the submarine, and start finding these nice performers, people on the water. So it's a show for the whole family.
How tricky is it to work with water, to do what you do?
In the beginning, it's really hard, but now we got used to it. But it's really hard. It's a late period, but it helps. Now we're good.
How much did you slip a lot when you first started?
Oh, yes. We all fall. We have videos of people falling.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And Alex, you're also the ringleader. So what does that all involve?
Well, technically, I'm the comedian of the show.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm the only one to have a microphone. So that's why they call me the ringleader. But I'm the comedian of the show.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. And in terms of the types of acts that are going to be performed, well, what do people see? Can you give us a sample?
Well, we have the Wheel of Destiny. A lot of people call the Wheel of Death. I don't like to call that, but I call the Wheel of Destiny. We have Brandon. He do a rollerbola. He has, I think it's 7 at the same time. He goes up, and then, he have no protection. Also, we got Araceli. She do contortions.
Okay.
And then she also do a hula hoop.
Hula hoop as well. Okay,
Yes.
that is wild. And I just want to know. I know Araceli. I know your English is not strong, so you're here, and I just want to make it clear that's why I'm not talking to Araceli today. But we are going to see her perform right away. But actually, just want to even get. I'm just always curious what your origin story is of how you come to join the circus in the first place. So I'll start with you. Actually, I'll start with you, Brandon, because tell us about your story.
Pretty much born into it. My dad's side, I'm 7th generation. Mom's side, I'm 6. Pretty much all I've done my whole life.
Really? What's it like growing up in a circus family?
It's a lot different. You go online school, computer, not a lot of kids.
So you're on the move a lot?
Yep.
Okay, so you were traveling with the circus growing up?
Pretty much, yeah.
And is that something you knew you wanted to do, like your whole life?
Pretty early on, yeah. I got stuck with it, and I'm doing it all these years now.
Okay, and your Italian accent sounds very American. Where are you from originally?
I'm from the USA, yeah.
Okay,
I
okay.
live in Oklahoma.
Okay, sounds good. I was wondering, like Brandon. I haven't heard that Italian name before. And yourself, Alex. What about you? How did you get into the circus?
I'm fourth generation, so I grew up in the circus too.
Wow.
With my mom, she's 4. My dad is 3.
Okay.
And for me, it's something normal.
Yeah, right. I guess so, eh? And what's the reaction when you say like I'm in the circus when you tell people?
Like I say, for me, it's something normal. I mean, people sometimes it helps a lot. I mean, if we're doing stuff like we're crossing the border or we're going to different towns, as soon as they heard the name circus, they're like, oh wait, are you a performer? Yeah, and you show some videos or stuff. They're like, oh, nice. Then just like make things easy.
Right. So, like growing up, were you just like flipping, doing all those things? Like
yes,
you were just
my first performer, I was 9 years old with my cousins. We're doing a trampoline act together. So
really.
Yes.
Okay. And have you guys been injured often? Then I know you said it's slippery.
I've never broken any bones or nothing.
Really?
I've never gotten injured.
Me either.
Yeah.
Really?
I broke a bunch of chairs when I fall out of the trampoline, but I don't break anything. Yeah, I did. I think I broke like 7 chairs from the show, but
That's impressive.
Yeah, I never break anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, nothing. Okay,
No.
that's very impressive. And what is it that that makes you want to continue doing? That keeps that passion going generation to generation. I'll start with you, Brandon. Like, why is it something that's like I'm going to keep this going?
I don't know. I just think that my parents did it. I seen it growing up. Now I also have my son. Trying to start getting into it. So I think it's just more generation. You like to see your parents do it and your kids do it. It's just it feels nice when you see somebody else do it like that.
And what are the life skills that you learn from being part of a circus?
Oh, so much. You learn how to do pretty much everything you do in a regular job. Just a little different, pretty much.
Imagine there must be like, even though everyone's got their own specific performances that they do, their thing, maybe there's contortion or something like that. Is a lot of teamwork as well, I imagine, hey, for a performance like this?
Yes, we have a bunch of times in the show that we're all together. So we got to dance together. We got to cross between, because we're like around 22 performers at the same time. So, we help each other and we're trying to do the best.
And what's life like on the road? Do you like being constantly on the go?
I think it's normal. We're so used to it now.
It's also normal.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so normal for us. I mean, it's nice that you get paid to travel.
Right.
I mean, we start in Florida.
Yeah, we started in Florida.
And we're here in Winnipeg right now.
Okay. And so actually I drove by your huge tent in the parking lot at St. Vital Center there. How long does it take to set all that up? Like, how big of a production is this? How big is the team, and what does it take to put something like this together?
We have 67 people traveling with us at the same time. We have a restaurant in the show to feed some of the crew guys. And it takes around like a day and a half to set up everything.
Really?
And to
That's
take
a big tent. It looks like it should take longer.
Yeah, but these guys are really good. They do the 1 day and a half, and to take everything down, normally they do it in 5 hours. I'll be gone.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so that's like a show in its own right.
Yes, like Monday is our last show, 7:30, so they start turning down around 10:40. If you pass 5 o'clock in the morning, there will be nothing there. So people are like, oh, wait, there was a tent here. What happened?
Yeah, exactly. Wild. Well, let's get to the main event actually now. So I understand that Brandon and Araceli, you are going to be performing for. Just before you do, can you tell us what you're going to be doing?
I do roll a bola. I'll just balance on a bunch of things pretty much.
Okay.
Then Araceli would be doing contortions.
Okay, so let's and we'll talk more about the show, how people can see it. But I want to see these first. So I guess Brandon, let's start with you and some Rollabola, and I'll narrate here. We are on YouTube, by the way, so if you want to check this out, you can head to our CBC Manitoba YouTube page. Brandon's just about just getting set up right now, and I'm in a very small space, by the way. And he may even he may even break a rolling chair, because apparently that chair is breaking. Okay, wait, he just whoa. Okay, so right now he is on a board balancing on a ball back and forth. It's almost like a skateboard, but with one big round wheel, essentially, right now. And he's crouching down. While balancing on this board. It's very impressive. Now
well, he did this in a table that is 7 feet high.
Okay, and a wet table probably too, because there's
no,
water.
the table don't get wet, but around it is all wet.
Okay, and now he has hula hoops that he somehow managed to fit onto him. I don't even understand how that works. Over his legs while he balances. Now it is under. He just put it under his foot. This is wild. I'm actually just trying to narrate right now as I see. The balance is incredible right now. Okay, now he's working the hula hoop through his body.
Yeah, in the show you will see him balancing 7 cylinders at the same time.
Okay, so
he'll
this
be
is
on
just like
top of
a
that.
pared down version
Yes.
of a body. Woohoo! I'm going to clap for you there. That was incredible, Brandon. How much practice does it take for you to be able to do something like that?
It took me about 6 years.
Really? Just to master
really just get on and start doing it.
I imagine.
And
I
don't
bet-
fall.
Yeah, don't fall.
And not to fall.
How much do you have to work out just to keep your core strong enough to
It's
be able
really
to
not
balance
a
it?
lot of core. It's more your ankles.
Oh,
You'd
really,
be very
eh?
surprised. Yeah, it's pretty much like skateboarding.
And they get pretty sore, I imagine, after
Yeah.
practicing a lot. That is wild. Okay, and now we have Araceli Salva, who's
Okay.
a contortionist, I believe, and you're going to be performing for us. So let's see what you've got. Great. She's wearing a very sparkly outfit, by the way. Both of them brought their costumes today. So let's see. Okay. She's just bending entirely backwards right now. She's like on all fours, but completely backwards. The flexibility is incredible right now. And now she's, wow. Okay, she's got her legs.
This is how she wake up every morning.
Yeah, yeah. She kind of looks like a
The daily routine.
backwards spider right now. I don't understand how her spine can even bend like that. Now she's got one foot up on one foot. Wow. And then now she's, I think she's about to go into potential. Oh, now she's got, pointing her foot way up high. Oh, and now she's somehow made it into a handstand, which doesn't make sense in terms of physics, but it's amazing. Now she's in a handstand. This is incredible. And her foot is almost about to touch her head, which also the top of her head. So picture that. And now she's been in a handstand now for almost 20 seconds straight. And now she's back on the ground. That's incredible. And now, wow. Her feet are up high and back down. And now she's back into that forest. And wow, incredible.
Yeah, great. You just missed your video guy. He was doing contortions here.
Yeah. Abby, we have Abby in here with a Zoom camera, and he also had to contort to make sure he gets the right angle on that. So congrats to Abby. This is incredible, the performance and the passion that must go into this. I even just got to ask for you, Alex. Just what's your favorite part about being part of the circus?
I think the best part is we make people forget about problems, at least for 2 hours. You know, the show is 2 hours long, and you make people forget about everything. I mean, they're happy, they're clapping. We have this comment on the page. They say, my daughter is 6 years old. I bought a cotton candy for her, and she was so entertained that she forgot to eat the cotton candy. So I think that's awesome.
Have you noticed that? I mean, there's so many things going on in the world these days. Have you noticed the increased demand for the circus as people look for that escape?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, we love to see the smile on people, no matter what age they're watching the show, they're having fun. And that's what I say. I think that part of we all traveling and making the people laugh and forget about problems that is everywhere, every time, I think is something nice.
And there's that kind of cliche where, like, I'm going to run away and join the circus. What's your argument for people to run away and join the circus?
I don't know. That would be a good question.
Well, why should people run away and join the circus?
That is a hard one. It's a lot more difficult than people think it is.
I mean,
I feel.
we have a lot of people. They say, "Oh, I want to run with the circus," and 3 days later, it's like, "Oh, I'm going to go home." So
Yeah, it's a very common.
yeah, that happens a lot.
Oh, really? Eh? Okay.
Yeah, it's not that easy. I mean, we just drove all the way from Toronto.
Right.
We drove in the middle of the smoke coming
Yeah.
here. Yeah, that was really bad. We can only stop because it was so bad.
It's a busy. So a lot of turnover in the circus.
Yeah,
industry.
I mean,
Okay.
sometimes you broke down. You're on the road for 3 days, 4
Right.
days, or fixing your truck or your RV or whatever that is.
Right.
I mean, it's not that easy.
Yeah. Any stories from the road that stick out to you from this tour in particular? That
I think we have
We
this
haven't
year.
had much
No,
this
it'd be
year,
nice.
really.
It'd
It's
be-
been a pretty good year.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good so far.
We've been lucky this
knock on
year.
wood. Okay, that's good.
I mean, we travel with our families. I have my wife, my 3 kids. He have his wife, his kids.
Right. So it really is a family.
Yeah,
family
he got his
affair, right?
boyfriend.
Okay.
I mean, they're together. So, I mean, I love to say we're families, entertaining families.
Right. Oh, that's very cool. Well, all of you, thank you so much for joining us. All the best with the show. What's the details if people want to come see? when
Well,
you
just
perform?
go to circuitalia.com if you guys want to see the show. We're starting on Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, Thursday is our opening night, 7:30. Friday we have another show at 7:30. Saturday we have 3 shows, 1:30, 4:30, and 7:30. Sunday We have 1:30 and 4:30, and Monday, our last day, is a 7:30 show.
Okay, and it's supposed to be kind of hot. I see like temperatures in the 30s.
We
Is it
have
pretty
air
hot
conditioner, so don't
Oh, look at
worry.
that, you're
Yes,
good to
we
go.
got, yeah.
And
we have-
are people going to get wet maybe too? Maybe?
No,
Oh,
they don't get wet at all.
Okay.
But sometimes they want to. I throw some water on people.
Oh, that's
they
nice,
love it.
especially to help you cool down a
Yeah.
little bit. That's great.
But yeah.
Well, thank you all for coming, and all the best as you get ready for the show this week.
Yep, thank you.
Alex Acero, Araceli Selva, and Brandon Ayala are performers with Cirque Italia. Their show, Water Circus Nautilus, is being performed from July 23rd to 27th, just outside of Winnipeg's St. Vital Centre.
Never made it as a wise man. I couldn't cut it as a poor man stealing. Tired of living like a blind man. I'm sick aside without a sense of feeling. And this is how you remind me. This is how you remind me of what I really am. This is how you remind me of what I really am. It's not like you to say sorry. I was waiting on a different story. This time I'm mistaken for handing you a heart worth breaking. And I've been wrong. I've been down, been to the bottom of every bottle. These 5 words in my head scream, are we having fun yet? Yeah, 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 no, no, it's not like you didn't know that. I said I love you and I swear I still do. And it must have been so bad, 'cause living with me must have damn near killed you. And this is how you remind me of what I really am. This is how you remind me of what I really am. It's not like you to say sorry. I was waiting on a different story. This time I'm mistaken for handing you a heart worth breaking. And I've been wrong. I've been down, been to the bottom of every bottle. These 5 words in my head scream, are we having fun yet? Yeah, 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 no, no, yeah, 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 no, no, yeah, 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 no, no, yeah, Never made it as a wise man. I couldn't cut it as a poor man stealing. And this is how you remind me.
That is Nickelback with How You Remind Me. And we're playing it because Nickelback's 11th studio album, Everything Under the Sun, is actually scheduled for release on October 30th through Virgin Music Group. Now, the frontman, Chad Kruger, he described the project as showcasing, quote, every side of the band, unquote, blending their heaviest hard rock metal material with more melodic tracks, not metal material, just hard rock material. So, new Nickelback album coming out in the fall. Time now for your CBC News from Manitoba.
This is CBC News. Good morning, I'm Josh Crabb in Winnipeg. At 8:30, it's mainly sunny and 16 downtown, sunny and 15 in Dauphin, sunny and 16 in the Paw. The search will continue today for 2 boys presumed dead in Nudimick Lake. The RCMP is looking for 10-year-old Maximo and 13-year-old Aaron O. Ramirez. The younger brother slipped on rocks near Sturgeon Falls Saturday afternoon. His older brother tried to save him. Police say both boys were swept away in the fast-flowing water and didn't resurface. Whiteshell Cottagers Association President Don Binda says he realized something was wrong after emergency vehicles rushed past his nearby cottage. He says he's in disbelief and overwhelmed by sadness.
I think we hopefully band together, hopefully take water safety a little bit more to heart. I think we all have a tendency from time to time to be a little bit too trusting, especially with kids and grandkids.
The RCMP says searchers will be looking along the shoreline and boats will be searching for clues on the water that could help find the two boys. U.S. President Donald Trump's latest trade offensive is sending shockwaves across the country. 50% tariffs, no CUSMA exemptions, targets on Canadian cars, dairy, and consumer goods. And with only 30 days before the new duties take effect, Olivia Stefanovich has more on Ottawa's reaction.
Prime Minister Mark Carney calls this action the latest in a series of unilateral U.S. trade actions violating CUSMA. And he says Ottawa made a series of detailed and comprehensive proposals to resolve the dispute with the U.S. and to modernize the trilateral free trade agreement over the last 18 months. Carney says Canada is ready to intensify those discussions in the coming weeks to address outstanding issues with the U.S. to the mutual benefit of their citizens. Federal Conservatives also released a statement last night calling Trump's latest tariffs another unacceptable and unjustified attack on Canadian workers and businesses. The Conservatives are calling for the tariffs to be withdrawn immediately, and the opposition is also accusing Carney of surrendering Canada's leverage for a year and a half without securing a deal with the U.S. like the Prime Minister promised. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
And we'll have more national and international news for you at 9 o'clock. Back here at home, advanced voting numbers are in for a provincial by-election taking place today in northern Manitoba. 1,799 advance votes were cast in the constituency of the Paw-Kamisak as people pick a new MLA. 1,826 advance votes were cast in the 2023 general election in that constituency. People have until 8 o'clock tonight to vote. There are 4 candidates running for the seat, including Jennifer Flett for the NDP, Edna Nabis for the Progressive Conservatives, and Dan Quinnell for the Manitoba Liberal Party. Former PC leadership candidate Wally Doddridge is also in the race, running under the Keystone Party banner. A Manitoba man who was bitten by a dog says local officials dragged their feet to apprehend the animal. Tim Woodcock was cycling in the Arm of St. Andrews on July 7th when he says a woman with a dog appeared up the bike path. Woodcock says the dog was a pit bull, but a veterinarian says it's a mix of bully breeds. The 62-year-old says the aggressive canine began to lunge at him.
And I just started spinning because the dog was trying to bite me, and it actually got between me and the bike. And took a bunch of bites out of my thigh and my hamstring area.
Woodcock says he was left with puncture wounds too deep to stitch, and it took a week to learn the animal was put under a 10-day quarantine required to assess rabies risks. The RM says the dog was initially confined to its owner's home before it was quarantined, but has not specified when either began. And a new terminal will soon open at Thompson's Airport. It's the province's second busiest, but its existing terminal is too small, too old, and starting to sink. The new one is built on firmer ground and has more amenities. It also has tighter security to keep drugs and alcohol out of northern communities. James Lindsay with the Thompson Airport Authority says the project has been decades in the making.
It's taken over 20 years for us to get here in terms of the organization from where we started to where we are today, and we're really proud and excited to bring this piece of infrastructure to the north.
The new terminal is expected to open to the public in late August. And that is the CBC News from Winnipeg. Your next news is at 9 o'clock.
Thank you very much, Josh.
You're welcome.
That's Josh Crabb with your CBC News. Big thanks to everyone who helped put together today's show. Our associate producers, Kaylin Monkman, Sophia Peralta Baron, and Sierra Sanders, as well as our news team, Joni Nicolo, Darren Bernhardt, and of course, Josh Crabb. And also, big thanks to our studio crew this morning, Darren Morash, as well as Abby Adiemi, who's in with a look at your weather.
Yeah, we still have smoke really present in the northern parts of the province, triggering that air quality warning across a lot of regions this morning. So you will be noticing the smoke impacting you. Take it easy. Hold off any heavy outdoor activities until the air clears up if it is impacting you. We will see highs reaching 26 across board today. Winnipeg, we're currently around 16, 17 degrees. We get close to 24 today, but it's a beautiful day. I might just want to go to the circus.
Yeah, right? That'd be fun. That contortionist was, I don't know how people can bend like that. It's
I
impressive.
was trying to follow.
Yeah, you were contorting as well. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Commute's been looking okay so far. Of course, some flooded highways in the Parkland region. Check Manitoba 511 for that. Well, enjoy this one more mild day before things get a little bit hotter again out there across southern Manitoba. I'm Corey Funk, in today for Marcy Marcusa. It was lovely spending the morning with you. Hope you have yourselves a lovely rest of your day as well. Stay tuned here to CBC Radio 1. The Current is next. Have a good one.